The Bomb Hole.
Bomb Hole Podcast.
It's going to be very hot. It's going to be very uncomfortable for everybody.
The Bomb Hole.
You're gonna slide down them big hills, you know what I mean, on the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
All right, it's a beautiful day here at the Bomb Hole, which is presented by Pub Beer. Now let's start this thing off right. And first things first, Stony Buds, how are we doing?
So good, my dog.
Whew. Love to hear it. Woo. To my left, we got Josh Dirksen in the booth. Josh, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Love being here. I'm very excited. I'm even excited to hear "So Good, My Dog."
What if I forgot my line, dude?
Yeah.
That'd be tough. Like,
I could help you out.
Yeah. Love it. So for our listeners that are unfamiliar with Josh Dirksen and who he is, Josh has a seemingly lifelong career in snowboarding. He filmed parts in the golden era of snowboard videos from the Kingpin videos, Mac Dog, and robot food movies. He is also a full-blown product tech guru and has extremely thoughtful insights on product development. Whether it's his slew of Baker Bank slalom podiums, bringing the snowboard community together via his Dirksen Derby event, meeting with senators to help protect our winners, or making a simple heel-side turn, Josh is a true Hall of Famer in snowboarding. So we're going to get inside the mind of Josh Dirksen today. Here we go. And we're going to start this thing off right. I'm asking this question for a friend now, Josh. How do you turn? What goes into a good turn, Josh?
What goes into a good turn? I'd say the track you leave makes you can kind of tell if it's a good turn. You know, it should be a nice clean edge mark and not fading, scratching out or whatnot. And so that's the start of a good turn. But what makes a good turn? Coming out of it faster than you went in. You know, maybe that's something. I mean, that's a pretty broad question.
Well,
yeah,
can you narrow
is this hard packed?
I want you to narrow down hard pack on your. We'll even get more specific with the heel side turn. How do you initiate and execute a proper heel side turn? What's your technique?
I'll get back to that, I guess. But to start out with, I think a hard pack and a pow turn is kind of the same. You know, it's you're kind of doing the same. And on hard pack, you can kind of shush out and spray some snow, and you can do that on a pow turn too. But the best pow turns are just you're turning so fast that the snow's flying, you know, and you're making a clean turn. And that's the same on a hard pack or in a Baker Bank slalom race or in the Derby race. Maybe not the Derby race; we're a little slower, but a good clean, good turn. Let's see, having the right board. I mean, I can make much better turns on a good board than a bad board. And I don't know, am I still warming up here?
You're warming up. I mean, I got questions. Like, what size foot do you have?
I have a 9.5, luckily,
right,
which is
standard male foot
yeah,
right there.
But you're into riding wider boards. What's up with the wide board?
Yeah, so I'm a 9.5 foot, which is lucky. It's a Solomon sample size, and so all the new boots that come out, I can get them earlier than normal, and it's a good size for, I mean, back in the day, if you had a bigger foot, there was hard to find boards. I mean, there was the Fat Bob that came out that kind of changed things, but it was really convenient having a smaller foot. And when I snowboarded 20 years ago, I had a size 8 boot. I even I'd pack my feet in there and just so that there would be less heel drag and just kind of a tighter fit. Maybe like a climber would pack their foot into it just felt more responsive, and that's what snowboarding was back then, was trying to, be responsive, be quick, be edgy. And it still is, but I've given my foot a little more room to spare now. And so, yeah,
well, for the audience, you're trying to not have toe or heel drag, correct?
I hate toe and heel drag, for sure. Drives me crazy. And my boards, I don't really ride a board narrower than 26.5 wide waist width. And that's just what fits on like my boot size, and I don't have negative heel drag, but I don't really have heel drag. Like I can like go over total horizontal and it's still not really touching, and that's something I really appreciate. I hate heel drag. I think it's a failure of snowboarding, and I kind of when I think about like where snowboard's going to go in the future, I hope they solve the problem of heel drag and where you can still have that edge pressure, but you're not hanging over the edge. Especially when I see my friends with bigger feet, it's like, oh. But luckily there's boards that fit bigger feet now, and there's options. But a good heel side turn, I guess, coming out of it faster than you went in. That's a goal, I think, for ripping around. And that's something that comes in handy at Bachelor. If you are going to turn a different direction, you don't want to slow down because it's going to get flat probably sometime soon. And I don't know. I guess I just don't know where to start.
Well, what about weight?
turning.
And what about weight and things like that?
Like how you weight
do
your...
do you have? I think about this. This is a little bit of might not correlate, but let's say you're on a bicycle, a BMX bike, a mountain bike, a motocross bike, and cornering. You want to come in and put your weight on the front over the front tire. So that's where all your traction is to carve and then kind of and exit how you exit. But do you think about coming in with your weight on your front foot and then exiting on your back? Kind of
Imagine I don't think about that, I guess, but that is the common knowledge that you kind of dive into your turns. You come in on your front foot and then you leave on the back foot. But I think the challenging part of a turn, especially a heel side turn, is putting that weight onto your back foot, especially when you're coming out of the turn. And so if I was thinking about it when I'm turning around the mountain, the thing I'm thinking about is getting onto my back foot. And kind of something that happens a lot is loading up your board and then flying over the handlebars. And so really thinking about getting your weight on the back is a way to avoid that. Whatever comes up, your front foot's just kind of up there, taking the suspension, taking the shock, and then your back foot's kind of the power and where you're going to whip out of your turns. And that's kind of where you get more speed, whipping out. And I imagine it's the same on motocross bikes, but the things I think about are just putting my weight on my back foot, especially if I'm in a race like the Baker Bank Slalom. If I do crash at Baker, it's because I had too much weight on my front foot and I went over the handlebars on my heel side edge. And I would say that's like one of the only ways I crashed up there, which has happened multiple times. And so at Baker specifically, I just try to get in the back seat and put all the weight on that back foot so there's no surprises, and then you kind of whip out of it. And it's a little bit of a balancing act sitting on the back foot there, but it makes for a nice turn.
We're what, a couple minutes in? I'm already learning. I've got my
never
notebook
even thought
out.
about that when I'm turning, like to try to get speed out of my turn, and that's why you go so fast in those courses.
Yeah.
So what if I'm
and holding an edge?
Yeah,
too.
I have a size 10.5 foot, and I've never really thought about should I be in a wider board so I can turn better.
Yeah.
Because I do have a little bit of heel drag. You probably do with your size.
I think everybody does, except for like me, because I'm like, oh my God.
You
I hate
think
heel.
about it.
Yeah.
So I just wonder
Think
if I
about it
could
a lot.
improve my riding if I was on a wider board with no heel drag.
Yeah, or you can pick your boots out well too. Like every boot has a different footprint, and I think about like
Getting a
how long
smaller
my
one.
foot is, and some boots are really edgy, especially on the heels. The heels will be shaped like that, and a boot that's round is gonna drag less. And so even in the Solomon boot line, I pick out my boots specifically based on the size of that footprint and how they're curved in the right spots, and yeah,
All these things make you a turn god, huh?
That is what goes. That's the recipe
This
for a
is
turn
the
god, buds.
recipe
That's the
right
recipe.
here. We're getting the secrets of knowledge. This is like ancient knowledge passed down to us.
We're gonna get into a lot more product tech talk.
I had one more question for you. He said you had a slew of Baker Awards, duct tape wins.
Yeah.
Would you say you had a Baker's dozen?
no, I got more than a Baker's dozen.
That's it. That was my hard question.
Baker's dozen's 13, right?
13,
Okay,
yeah.
just making sure.
But I might have. If I thought about it for a second, I could count it up probably. But I had a lot of podiums.
Yeah,
and,
maybe
we'll probably get to the
Baker's-
whole story.
A Mount
later.
Baker's dozen could be different even, too. I don't know. We could even come up with that, I guess.
Maybe
I don't know.
Dirksen's amount of duct tape is truly a Mount Baker's
A
dozen.
Mount Baker's dozen.
All right, we'll get into Baker Banks. We're going to talk more product stuff. But before we do all that, let's go back to the roots and where you grew up and how you found skateboarding and snowboarding.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll start with I was born in Canada to American parents, and I was born in Ottawa, Ontario. And my dad was a swimmer. And then when my sister was born, he became a swim coach. And then he went up to Canada to be a swim coach. And then I was born. And I lived up there just 2 years. So I do have a Canadian passport, but I don't claim that I'm Canadian. But I do got a little something going on. But 2 years after I was born, we moved back to Oregon. And that's where I'm from, where I feel like I'm still from, no matter what changes happen in my life. and we moved to Cresswell, Oregon, which was a little town south of Eugene. So we had the big town 10 miles north of Eugene with the University of Oregon Ducks and all the kind of culture and hippies. It's kind of known for hippies. But I technically grew up south of Eugene and in Cresswell, Oregon, and it had, I think, about 1,700 people when I grew up. And my like high school class was maybe 90 people, I think. It was like a tiny little school, and definitely everybody knew everyone. And it was a small. Well, my dad worked at a swim pool that was in Cottage Grove, Oregon, and that was a lot of my life when I was young, was a swim pool, and I ended up like working at the cash register when I was too young to work. I think even maybe when I was 11 or 12, I started working at the cash register, and then let's see, growing up was a lot of camping. My dad especially, and then the rest of the family. I have a sister, my sister Bryn, 2 years older, and my mom Patrice, and then my dad Mike. And my dad kind of ran the show, I'd say, and he was very outdoorsy. Loves fresh air. Slept outside, like still does the majority of the year, unless it's pouring down rain. He might sleep inside, but if he does sleep inside, he opens the windows. But our childhood was kind of sleeping outside, going to hikes, and on any vacation we would go backpacking for like 12 days, and then there was a lot of cross country skiing, snow camping, which is always amusing seeing where I ended up later in life with camping out with Jones and the TGR guys up in Alaska, and how it's like what my childhood was. But and it was fun, and it's fun to look back on. But when it's going down, it was kind of it was a little bit odd, when your friends are going to Disneyland for vacation, and we're going to drive 10 hours to camp for 12 days with all our food on our back. But it definitely set me up for
the kids think you were weird when you came into school, and they were like, "We went to Disneyland."
I guess so. We had a lot of weird kids though in a small little town, a lot of hippies, a lot of farmers, and everybody had something weird going on.
And
we all knew each other so well. But yeah, they didn't see me on any vacation times. And summer vacations, we were gone camping, and then winters snow camping. Wasn't really weather dependent. None of our trips. We'd go out, rain jackets if it was raining, but it's fun, and it kind of set me up for where I am now, I guess. And I enjoy snow camping these days, and it's a result of my childhood. But so I grew up and went out. Kind of what you did in that town was sports, and I was a tiny little kid, and a little younger too. Just how my birthday ended up. The whole school year, I was always kind of like a year younger than most kids, which makes a difference in sports. Basketball wasn't really an option, or football, and I did go out for cross country. I think I was forced to go out cross country, even which coming up how I got into skateboarding. But after I got into skateboarding, my dad told me that I either had to go out for cross country or I had to come home and do yard work, and I couldn't just focus on skateboarding only. And which is kind of funny, but it's kind of good. It's good to be have even when I go snowboarding splitboarding, it's nice that I cross-country skied in my childhood. It's like, oh, that's the exact same thing. It's fun being diverse. But so I went out for sports, but I'll get straight to skateboarding, I guess.
Did your dad just not think it was a sport?
Skateboarding?
Yeah, so that's why he...
No, they totally did. But I think it was kind of just more of doing everything. He wanted, he wanted me to do everything. And my mom was part of all this too, but my dad was pretty athletic, and kind of the only sport he didn't want me to do was swimming. That was everything was either I did it or I was almost forced to, but not in a harsh way. But kind of swimming was the one I think he had too much of, and he even told a story about how he knew how many tiles were on the bottom of the 25-meter swim pool. And the tiles were this big, and that he swam so many laps. And I think it's a pretty challenging sport, just the dedication you have to do for just repetition. And so he put me and my sister in the position to, do a lot of every sport. And I did gymnastics. That was something too, and, that I had fun. And wrestling came up later. And wrestling, that was in high school, and I was the smallest kid in the school, pretty much. And so wrestling just meant I'd show up and win because there's no one to wrestle in my weight group. And I was the smallest weight group, and everybody's trying to lose weight to get the right weight for the wrestling, and I was 10 pounds off even. But and pole vaulted, I think, was a while there. I could barely bend the pole, but it's fun sport to be lounging on the mats while everybody else is training on the field. But so I did a lot of sports growing up, but the one that really stuck was skateboarding. And my neighbor, I remember one day going outside and he had a skateboard, and my neighbor Justin Stafford, we should give him a little horn. And I remember just being amazed that you could pop up a curb, not ollie up a curb, but just lift your front wheels up and get up. And it was pretty. I was probably 11 years old when I first stood on a skateboard, and then I think that Christmas, I even have a photo of it, of my first skateboard, the Ninja. I think I got it at Toys R Us, or I requested it for a birthday present, and got it from Toys R Us, and that was a good day. And from that moment on, it was skateboarding, and loved skateboarding. And my neighbor was right on track with me too, and we got into skateboarding. We built ramps and kind of shitty ramps at the start, and then got better, and we built a half pipe in the backyard, and watched the movie Thrashin'. We'd rent that thing every other day in the summer. You guys know that movie, Thrashin'?
Dude, I was actually revisiting some old videos the other day, and not that video, but man, The Search for Animal Chin. What a masterpiece that movie is.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to launch ramps? Did you have launch ramps going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of launch ramps.
Those guys were throwing down the sickest tricks, man. Is it just too hard on the body? Is that
Judos and all that?
Is that why? Yeah, judos and...
No, the launch ramp needs
moves.
to come back, though.
It needs to come back, man. And they're out like hanging with a crew in the middle of like a city with a launch ramp.
Yeah.
It's just so sick.
Yeah.
I
now we have
imagine
skate
that's what you were
parks, though,
doing.
where you can find some landings.
That's a good
even.
point.
That's true.
Yeah, you can fly out at a skate park even, and that's kind of technically launch
That
ramp.
is
But
true.
but
the
back
launch,
then we
it
didn't
would be
have.
sick though, right?
Yeah.
You
I
were
think it
probably
definitely
doing
would.
that, right? Building little quarter pipes and.
We were for sure, and we'd find a skate mag, and we'd go to the back of the mag and find the ramp plans.
Oh, that's right.
And we'd either order them or we'd dream of having the money to order them, I guess. But and stuff would come in the mail, and
Plywood was cheaper.
Yep, plywood was cheaper. Yeah, and we'd reuse the plywood. I'd say, yeah, we had a set amount of wood that we used for multiple ramps. You know, you kind of tear stuff down and try to build them better. And but we just skate all summer long, and then back then, I mean, times have changed a little bit now in Oregon and Eugene with rainfall. But back then, there was so much rain. It would, like once the fall would come, and maybe it's just me looking at it, just frothing to skate and not being able to. But we'd skate in my garage when it rained. But that's kind of what led to snowboarding. You know, seeing there was one ad, I think it was a Thrasher mag, riding 88 Burton. And yeah, kind of funny thing to add in here too. For the last 30 years, I claimed I started snowboarding in 1988. And then recently I was kind of doing the math, and it was actually 1987.
Nice.
So I've answered incorrectly for many, many years. But I think it was because that ad, that one, riding 88 Burton, and
They were advertising for the next season, maybe.
I don't know how they did it, but yeah, like it was Christmas Day of 1987. Maybe that's kind of part of it because it's
Yeah.
only 5 days away from 88 too. But
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was the ad cycle.
yeah, but yeah, we started. So up until that moment in the winter, we were going up cross country skiing, and I was getting dragged up there. We all were with my parents and my dad and sister, and going skiing. And then we saw that ad for snowboarding, me and my neighbor, and we're like, that's what we want to do. And so we rented boards, and the board was taller than me. And we went up. Christmas Day was the free day at Willamette Pass. That was my home resort that I grew up at. And so Christmas Day, 1987, started snowboarding. Me and my neighbor Justin, and from that moment, just like skateboarding, is hooked. Like those were the two things, and everything else was part of my life, like other sports and school and stuff. But it was only skateboarding, and that even goes to this day. I don't skate as much as I used to. I kind of go from point A to point B nowadays, but my whole life has been as much skateboarding as snowboarding. It was all summer long, and that was pro snowboarding back in the day. Was every snowboarder I rode with was a skateboarder, and a ripping skateboarder. Todd Richards, for example. But
Do you remember what that first board was you rented?
yeah, it was and I actually have one, but it's not the exact one. But it was a Burton Elite 150
Nice.
with the big bucket bindings
Yep.
on there, and it was maybe probably a year older or a year earlier than most people would imagine. It was it said Elite on the bottom.
Yeah, the Elite 150.
Yeah.
That one was maybe yellow or blue.
No, it was the year before that yellow
Oh, the
one.
red one?
Yeah, I think it's more
Sick.
red. Yeah, and I actually, maybe we're here to tell stories. So I have that board, Aggie, Marcus Aggie used to be my roommate, and yep, Aggie. And Aggie just texted me this morning that he's coming to the Derby for his first time, 15 years in. But Aggie had that in his garage. I don't know how he got his hands on it, but I'm like, oh, that's the first board I rode. And this was just maybe 15 years ago. No, not. And then he's like, yeah, cool. And it was sitting in his garage. And then I moved out of his house and got my own house. And I came back and I walked around the back of the house where you rarely ever go as a random spot. And the board was in the back of the house under an eave, but outside. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame. It's such an awesome board to be out, out in the elements. And so I gave it another year. And I peeked back there and it's still back there, kind of forgotten. And maybe I gave it another couple months. But then there's one day I just took it, didn't ask.
Classic.
And, put it in a nice spot in my garage, nice dry. No moisture, and
did he know you took it?
5 years later.
5 years.
Yeah, even like a long time later, he's like, "Oh, I have one of those," and I'm like, "No, you don't." Maybe if you would have found out like a year or a couple months later, but
he
that
probably
long.
saw it and was all stoked, like, "Oh, dude, I got one of those." That's sick.
No, it has a Bad Boy Club sticker on it even.
Oh, that's so
weird.
fire.
The stickers are on the same places.
Yeah, and it has a metal fin in the middle. That was last year.
Yeah,
the
last
metal
year the fin,
fins. Yeah, but I think it's removable, but we didn't remove it.
Yeah, those things
But,
were harsh.
Yep, so I have one thanks to Aggie. Thanks, Aggie.
Yeah, that's pretty
Incredible.
tight. That was really cool.
Upon doing my research, I heard a little bit of interesting information that you, since you grew up in a small town, you're kind of in a small vacuum, if you will, of your skate scene.
For sure.
And your skate tricks were kind of different or maybe bizarre compared to other people's at the time. Like you had a different kind of bag of tricks. Does that sound familiar?
For sure we were in a bubble. And it's just by luck that I didn't push Mongo. Stuff like that. I didn't know things were like what was forbidden and what were cool tricks or,
the unwritten laws.
Yeah. And I even remember, pushing with keeping your back foot on is the forbidden way.
Yep.
And keeping your front foot on is but I remember like a kid in town skated with his back foot on and I totally wanted to skate like that. And I'm like, I can't do it though. And, but luckily, but things like that, we just didn't know. And we were in touch with something, but it was kind of the movie Thrashin', for example. That's where we got our reality of what skateboarding was. And there was a skate contest that came into Eugene that I remember going to that was pretty influential called the Willamette Dammit. And it had like all the kind of top, Tommy Guerrero was there, for example. And so it's just little moments that we'd find out what skateboarding really was. But a lot of times it was the one mag and a lot of movies I didn't see, that we had the Bones Brigade movie. As far as snowboarding goes, the Juicy Fruit commercial, that was something like that we taped. Like sat around waiting for it to come up and like it's coming, and that was influential. A 15-second
That
commercial.
is so dope.
What's your favorite video part? Juicy Fruit commercial, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but and then we
Maybe a Mountain Dew commercial on the side. They had some sick ones back then. Didn't make it to your bubble.
I don't think Mountain Dew was around at that moment. This would be 1988.
Dude, I swear they
90.
were. I saw one.
Yeah.
On one of those on that Bones Brigade, it Search for Animal Chin before it was a Mountain Dew commercial was snowboarding, wakeboarding, and skateboarding, and I was like, holy shit! It was actually really sick.
Yeah.
Queued
Yeah,
up
I'm
in
sure
the
there
show
was,
notes.
but like some stuff, like we didn't have cable TV. I think I had
You're living in
2
the
or 3
woods.
stations, and kind of a rule of our household was an hour TV a day maximum. And so maybe the commercial would come on and I wouldn't see that.
Props to your parents for doing that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but I definitely had really cool parents. And as far as my snowboarding career, there was never a doubt that snowboarding wasn't something legit. And, it wasn't those stories like, oh, no, skateboarding doesn't count. It was like fully, like when I told my parents that I'm going to become a pro snowboarder, it was like, oh, yeah, that's like totally.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and talk about one of our sponsors, buds.
Yes, for this winter, we're partnering with a travel brand, DB, designed in Scandinavia, built for the journey. DB products feature the hookup system, meaning you can carry your board bag, wheelie, and backpack with a single hand.
They also feature rib cage technology, ensuring all your gear is protected. DB is the brand for award-winning snow travel gear, backed by the best Sage Kotzenberg, Kevin Backstrom, Estelle Pensiero, Gimbal God, and many more.
To find out more, follow us on IG at DB Journey or dbjourney.com and sign up for the DB Black membership to be the first to know when their new Sage Konsberg line drops this winter.
Best hooked up luggage ride this winter wins a full Sage Kotzenberg edition travel collection. Be sure to check out DB. They make some quality luggage and bags.
If I could be using the same luggage the Colonel uses, whew, you know I'm going to be good. Sage's gear, let's go.
All right, Dirksen. I want to know how you went from being kind of a beginner snowboarder, just getting into it, and how did that evolve into becoming a sponsored snowboarder? What did that look like?
Well, I guess, I don't know, as far as sponsored snowboarder or skateboarder, I think it was kind of the same in my head. Like, I kind of remember when I was young, maybe like 13, I kind of realized that you could be a professional skateboarder. And I kind of remember telling my mom, like, ooh, I want to become a professional skateboarder. That sounds like an awesome job. And there was no problems with that dream, I guess. But I don't know if it was ever a difference between skateboard and snowboard, and it's just kind of what I wanted to do. And maybe it wasn't as much pro skateboarding as just like, whoa, this is an opportunity to skateboard, snowboard all the time. You know, that was kind of the dream. And, you know, it wasn't really what should I do for work. This is going to be that. But my dad does have a funny story. I don't have memory of it. But I guess there was a teacher I had to write a essay or something in school, and it sounds like it was maybe 7th, 8th grade. And I said I wanted to become a professional skateboarder, maybe a snowboarder. I don't remember what I said. But and the teacher kind of responded that that's not possible, and you know, kind of the classic what you'd expect a teacher to tell a kid, like, no, you got to redo the essay. And then years later, I signed a poster for her, maybe 10, 15 years after I became a professional snowboarder, and she has it hanging in her classroom, kind of an example that like anything's possible, I guess.
How she was wrong and anything's possible.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah. But my dad loves that story, and I've heard it from him, and I actually have no recollection of it besides signing the poster 15 years later. But I realized that it could be a job, and that was something, or not a job, but an opportunity to snowboard, skate all the time. And then, I don't know, that's just where things led. I guess I started skateboarding in Cresswell, started snowboarding with my neighbor, and then we got season passes every year, and then we had rides up to the mountain with my parents who were going up there anyways to go cross-country skiing, and we would ride 9 to 4 every weekend day for sure, and not too many weekdays. But then when I went to school in Cresswell, it's a small town, until I got my driver's license in 11th grade, and then 11th grade I moved up to South Eugene, or to Eugene and South Eugene High School, and that was a big shock, I guess. All of a sudden there was 100 skateboarders instead of growing up. It was me, my neighbor, and possibly like one or two others. Jeff Glass would come into town, and kind of as far as, Jeff Glass. I still follow him on Instagram. We talk every once in a while. But, you know, that was a influence, too, to throw that in from earlier, is just people who had moved to our town that came from California, like, whoa, what's going on with skateboard and other places? And, you know, that was a way that we'd be influenced and find out what's going on. But moving up to South Eugene, and all of a sudden there was a huge school. The school was at least 500 people. Maybe even just my graduating class was 500 people up there. And I was only there for 11th and 12th grade before I graduated. I didn't meet too many people, but one of the people I did meet was Jason McAllister. A little air horn from McAllister. And we became great buds snowboarding, and with license. He had a driver's license too, and that's when we really started making it over to Bachelor. And that was probably 93. And we'd take trips over there and just snowboarding a lot. And then it kind of started to be the moment, like, what are you going to do after school? Like, after you graduate? And I was pretty like a good student just by default, because like nothing else to do in Cresswell besides just get A's and B's, or like a few B's even. It was like pretty easy to study when there wasn't too much going on. But once I got up to South Eugene, there was some distractions with just awesome fun times and opportunities to go snowboarding, not just on the weekends with my parents, but all of a sudden we had license. So we started making it over to Bachelor and meeting more riders that's what they did, is snowboard all the time. And I don't know if that was a moment, or I don't know if there's ever a moment that, or maybe we'll get to there later, that I want to become a pro snowboarder. Is more of I just want to snowboard a lot, and I mean that's still the case, I guess. I just want to set it up that there's a lot of snowboarding, and that seemed like the best option.
Were you showing some skills? Like, did you feel you were pretty good?
Yeah, I mean in Crestwell, yeah.
No, but when you got out to the mountain and saw other people, and
yeah, and I was pretty driven. I don't know if I'm competitive. I was kind of thinking about this, like what I would say, and I don't think I'm the most competitive person, but I'm a kind of more of a show off, I guess, like which gets you to the same place,
Yeah.
But I've never been super good at contests, and the moments that I do have in snowboarding that were spectacular were, I think I was kind of more showing off, and I think I do my best when things are unexpected, like something expects like me to ride really good. That kind of puts me the other way. But yeah, I think I felt like I was a strong snowboarder, and that I was as good as, or could be as good as what I saw in the magazines. Not as good, but I could be as good if I kept snowboarding all the time. And I had support from my friends, like telling me good job, and yeah, I definitely thought that was a good possibility that I could become a professional person who got to skateboard and snowboard a lot and get paid for it.
How'd you end up getting sponsored then?
I guess that comes a little later, little bits. But so before, when I was still living in Crestwell, there was 2 times I went up to High Cascade Snowboard Camp, and so that's on Mount Hood, and that was a 3-hour drive from our house. And back then, snowboard camps were $500, which was pretty reasonable. I remember I had a deal with my parents that if I could make half the money, that they would pay the other half and make it possible. And that was kind of always the deal with my season passes too. But when
$500, it's like a day at a camp now.
Yeah, and it's even $4.95. I remember the brochure, just drooling over it, like, oh yeah. And the first camp I went to, I think, was a High Cascade snowboard camp, and it is so fun. And I mean, I'd say Mount Hood in summertime is a big part of the opportunities I've gotten snowboarding. Going up there, and that's where everybody heads, and at the same time, and where you meet the people who also want to snowboard a lot, and for that to be their job and or their life. And so I went up to High Cascade first, and the next year USSTC. And USSTC, I met Tom Nordwall, and he was and I think that was the first person to kind of say, "You're ripping. Here's a snowboard." And he gave me a Joyride snowboard, 148, and I was so stoked. Yeah, and he's such a cool dude, and somebody that gave me a lot of confidence at a good moment. And so I got that Joyride, and that felt like a free snowboard was something big. I mean, that was accomplishing the goal of snowboarding more when I didn't have to work at the swim pool as much. And so yeah, those opportunities up at Hood were something that got me in that direction. And then I went up to Eugene, moved to the school in Eugene, still lived in Crestwell, just drove every day. Met McAllister, then we graduated, and I went to college, just community college in Eugene and in Bend. I think over 3 years I accomplished 3 terms, and it was always fall term, going strong, doing this, and then snowboarding come up, and it was easier the first year, and then the second year opportunities came up, and so, yeah, I left college technically with I'll be back, and went on I think it was a Morrow Snowboards trip. Not to bounce around, but we'll get there too.
It's okay to bounce around on the show.
Yeah, we bounce around.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I bounce around too, but I came in here today saying I need to keep a little bit of a timeline going.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, but but I always kind of joke about that. I've been a pro snowboarder for 25 years maybe. And the common question for the last 25 years was, what are you going to do when it's all done? And my answer is, from the moment I left school, is like, I'll be back. And that's still kind of my plan. If it ever does end, which I don't plan on it ending. And maybe the pro snowboarding part, but just the lifestyle of wanting to snowboard a lot. And I don't think that'll quite change. I've accepted that that's what I am. That's what I do. That's what makes me happy. And snowboarding. And that's where all my friends are, and so that's what I'm doing. But I do plan on going back to school, and yeah, making it back there because I left pretty quick. Didn't finish the finals and took off running, and then all of a sudden it was the pro snowboarding life.
What were you going to school for?
Drafting. Back when drafting was drawing, and so maybe looking back, it was pretty lucky because I think I would have learned to draw, and then all of a sudden it was CAD computers and
if you go back, it might be like starting fresh on computers. You might be starting from day one.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed that. I had that class in school, high school, and like drawing blueprints and stuff, and I kind of like those details. I kind of see it in my daughter too, just like the details of making things look clean, and and that probably shows my snowboarding too, I guess, or like video parts and stuff. I want things to be nice and perfect, but it probably would have been a good job for me. I would have enjoyed it. Maybe I'll be back and catch up with the technology. But let's see. Then we graduated, moved to Bend, and snowboarding, and then we got a job up at Mount Hood. McAllister and I digging half pipes. And, back when diggers used shovels, not rakes, and before pipe dragons, and we got a job up there. And I'd say that's the moment when snowboarding became pro snowboarding, right around there. And there's more moments I can mention. That was the exact moment when I started getting paid. For example, cheddar biscuits.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We'll get there.
Okay.
I guess. Keep to the timeline a little bit. But first year up at Hood was amazing. It was so fun. We lived in a place called The Shack. There was just this rundown place right in government camp, and the skate ramps there's a vert ramp, and I skated vert with Todd Richards every day. Little horn for Todd. Did we give him a horn already?
What year are we looking at?
That was 1995.
Nice.
So I graduated in 94. And when I was 17, so I was a little younger. Like I said, I was kind of always the young kid. And then moved to Bend in 94. And then summer of 95 went up to Mount Hood. And because Mount Hood's nearby, like a lot of people who ran the camp were in Bend during the summer. So the opportunity came up to go up there. And I think there was even a half pipe that High Cascade built at Bachelor in the spring. And then we started digging, and that kind of led to the job up there. But it was a dream job. I went up there, and I wasn't sponsored. By that time, the one Joyride board was broken and gone and too small. And I went up to Hood, and I was riding the Burton rep in Bend, gave me a board that I had at one of those old Terrier balance boards. And that was when Terrier was like, I mean, he was always at the top, still is. But that's when Subject Talkin, that winter before, was that was a movie. Like we didn't have every movie, but Subject Talkin we had in The Garden. And in those movies, maybe it was The Garden was 95, maybe Subject Talkin was a year or two later. But what movies I did get my hands on, or we did get our hands on, were the ones that we watched 100,000 times. And so went up to Hood, rode every day of the summer. Made for a 10-day session, made $70, which is pretty funny.
10 days.
10 days working, waking up early. Kind of the standard schedule was waking up and eating free breakfast, which was incredible.
I think I spent $70 at 7-Eleven yesterday.
Totally. Yeah,
that's how life's changed.
Yeah.
Maybe not 70, but geez.
Yeah, it was. But we had a place to stay, the Shack, and
the Shack.
Yeah. And then we'd wake up, eat a free breakfast, get up on the mountain early, dig the half pipe if it was a down day, or if snow blew in, or wind, or something melted it, and then dig, ride, maintain, dig, come down, skate vert, eat dinner.
Getting paid like $7 a day.
$7 a day, but no expenses, absolutely nothing. Besides, I had a fake ID too. Now, at that time, I think I was 18, no facial hair at all. I had an ID that said I was 26. And
that didn't work?
It totally worked.
There's
it worked.
No cops in Govey, pretty much.
Yeah, there was none at that time for sure. Yeah. And it worked for a good couple years, like 3 years maybe, and finally got taken away when they asked me, what's my sign?
Jeez.
Yeah, and I actually knew it, and it was right in my head, but I thought the smoother answer was like, I don't know my sign, man. And the guy's like, everybody knows their sign.
Everybody does know.
And I'm like, yeah, it's like Sagittarius or something. And I even remember my birthday was 12/12/70. And I'm like, it's like Sagittarius. And he's like, nope. And they took it, and then a little piece of pride was hanging in the rat skeller for another couple of years on the wall to
So you gave him the wrong answer?
No, I didn't give him the wrong answer, but I didn't give him the quickest answer.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was Sagittarius, but I kind of started out saying like, man, I don't do signs. That's But he wasn't buying it, and he was correct.
He probably wasn't buying it from the start.
Yeah.
But while it lasted, it was awesome. So my days were working, digging half pipes, eating free food, skating a lot of vert with Todd, and like awesome vert ramp there, and government camp, and then being the one who could buy the beer at the village store, and partying, and then going to the rat skeller, and I think kind of a nap was in there somewhere too, because it was late nights, early mornings, and but it was dreamy at that time. It was so fun. And then the $70 a session was if we had a rain day and we go down to the mall in Portland. That's where we'd spend the $70, and then did
I think they call that living the good life.
That was the good life. Yeah, even the other day, kind of leading up to this bomb hole, I saw like a best day ever. I think it was an old snowboard mag, like an older mag that I had to write like best day ever, and I wrote about like a day at Mount Hood during that time. And
nice.
Yeah, and there's like no worries, no problems, and everybody was. I mean, it was the moment that everybody around me was living for the same things, like for snowboarding and skateboarding and having fun and enjoying. And so did that first summer up there, and met a lot of people, but person who changed my life was Todd Richards. And he was riding for Morrow at that time, and he came out with his first year of his Morrow Pro model. And Morrow started out in Salem, Robbie Morrow, in Salem, Oregon, and that was really close to my house in Bend. Robbie, yeah, he's a great influence and support and.
Well, I'm going to sidebar for a second here. We happen to have a guest question from none other than Todd Richards.
Oh yeah,
here we go.
Biggest fan.
Hey, Bombhole, this is Todd Richards with a question from my good buddy Josh Dirksen. Josh, we have known each other for a very, very long time. I've watched your career blossom into what you are today, and I'd like you to kind of tell the viewers a little bit about how you used to only eat candy. You had a diet that was based solely on candy, and somehow, being the freak of nature that you are, you turned that into a viable fuel source for your snowboarding. Let's talk about an average breakfast for Josh Dirksen back in the heyday, say around 1996. All right, we'll see you later. I hope everyone realizes Josh Dirksen's commitment to the progression of style in snowboarding. He's one of the best to ever do it and will ever be one of the best to ever do it. High five. Love you guys. Bye.
Sounds like he misses us.
Yeah, I love you too, Todd. Thanks for the question. And Todd is my career. I mean, he was there at the start, and every highlight I've had in my career over the last 25 or whatever years is I've thought of Todd. Like, oh, he's gonna love when he sees this, But he gave me so much, which will come up in our conversation here. And but directly to the candy question, for sure, I ate a lot of candy, and it started when I was younger. There was a cookie jar, and it was available to eat the cookies and sweets, and like when I was living up at High Cascade, that was I'd eat a normal breakfast, and but during the winters when I didn't have that, I know Marcus Agee has a funny story about how we'd be driving up the mountain, getting ready to drive up the mountain, hop in his truck, and we'd stop at a Big O Bagel, and they'd get a bagel, and I'd stop at the convenience store and get those little orange slices, those little candy gummy things, and that was kind of the diet I lived on. And there was McDonald's. It was just kind of shitty food in general, and I didn't eat much McDonald's when we were growing up. It was kind of expensive, and we didn't really do restaurants, and we did camp food or food at home. But when I moved out of the house, it was go time and a lot of McDonald's. And I even had kept track of how many countries I ate McDonald's in for a long time, and I got up to quite a bit, and I'd see McDonald's, and I'm like, we're going. And it was I had a very big sweet tooth and a very poor diet, and it worked out, I guess. I don't know, burning calories, skating and snowboarding, and And then these days, I eat healthier. Like I haven't eaten McDonald's rarely, like maybe once a year, once every 2 years, I'd say. But candy, I eat a lot of still. And it's like I married a Swiss woman and Fabian, and yeah, we'll probably give her a few horns along the ways. But yeah, I can eat incredible amounts of chocolate, and I know it's not good for me, but yeah, I should figure it out one of these days. But the rest of my diet's good. Like I eat healthy foods and lots of vegetables and salad. I remember McAllister, we go down to Deschutes and Bend to eat dinner. That's an eggy, and he'd order a salad for a side, and I'm like, that is crazy. Like how you can order fries and you're ordering a salad, and but these days I enjoy vegetables and enjoy just feeling good. But I enjoy chocolate too, and I have a lot of Swiss chocolate available. And I brought you guys some Swiss chocolate.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, let's hammer that.
You want it right now?
Yeah. Let's hammer
Buds
that.
actually has some Swiss chocolate in his pantalones, I think, right now.
True.
Just
Yeah.
packed
This
to the
comes
gills.
straight from the source.
Wow.
This
Yeah.
is legit, huh?
Oh, wow. Look at these boxes.
Wow.
Yeah, who wants the pink one?
What's the
Buds,
diff?
you take your choice.
Are they the same?
Yep, they're exactly the same.
I just
Little
get
fine.
the fancy pink?
Yep. So the Lindt Chocolate
20
Factory.
pack?
Yeah. That's
It's,
20 packs about to be a 0 pack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're the little piece of chocolate are super tiny. You could fit 5 of them in there if you wanted. But the Lindt Chocolate Factory is close to our house.
Dude,
And,
thank you so much.
Thank you for this
Yeah.
gift. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And that came fresh from Switzerland. So I flew in here. I'm flying back home to Oregon. And from Switzerland, we'll get to that too. But this is kind of just a long layover, and I packed that in my carry-on for you guys.
Display. This is unbelievable. It's a whole experience.
Yeah, we like gifts at the bomb hole. This is really nice.
Yep. Yeah, I like giving you guys gifts. Cool what you do.
It's really nice of you.
You know, you just mentioned that you're flying back to Bend, and I didn't make a note of this, but I do want to ask you to just kind of take this thing, derail for a second. Pretty much unanimously, when we have Bend people on the show, we ask who's the king of Bend. Pretty much unanimously, their answer is Josh Dirksen. Now, I want to know who you think the mayor, the king, the leader, the president, the
jester.
dictator maybe. No, who's the top dog in Bend?
Well, as far as the king, I'm definitely not saying myself. But
I think you should.
As far as the mayor, I think the official mayor is Chris Lazier. He's the mayor of Bend. And
Also an accountant, I believe, right?
yeah, and a ripping snowboarder. Yeah. And then King of Bend, I guess Peter Butch. That would be he's the guy who sets the style for Bend. I think you can kind of find a little piece of his riding in every rider that rides around Bend. And he's got Alistair Schultz style, or Alistair, that's just kind of that crew, the Whitware crew, I think you could kind of call him. And he's been around there forever, and he knows all the jumps and how to ride the mountain. And I think for sure, from my perspective, Peter Butch is the king. And,
What about the new kids? Who's the new kid on the block that's coming in hot from
Yeah, new
Bend?
kids on the block.
Next gen.
Well, yeah, Ben Ferguson's not the next gen, but he's the top rider, the one that we're the most proud of. And
He's the pride and joy.
yeah,
pride.
and I mean, many moments to watching his video to be proud and like, yeah, we're from Ben, Batchy, and but the up and comers are, Big Air Jer was, and then now he's official, and Mason Jar, Mason Lemery, what's his?
Call him Mason Jar.
Yeah,
good
Mason Jar with a 5 instead of an S.
Yep.
But I think he's for sure our up and comer rider, and I took a run with him last year, and it was a bit of everything: awesomeness, backside 180s, launching the cornice, kind of some wild style. Just kind of had his sunscreen all smeared like war paint over his face, and just everything about him was very entertaining and fun to watch. And I'm sure he'll be a superstar and maybe even sitting in this chair here soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
While we're talking Bend, I got one other guest question, and this is from Trevor Graves. Here we go.
Hey Josh, it's Trevor Graves calling in. Congrats on getting on the bomb hole. I anticipate this will be an excellent interview. My question for you today is about the surf style at Mount Bachelor. I've watched you, McAllister, Yamada, Alistair over the years, and you guys have a real regional surf style to how you approach snowboarding. Do you think that's a direct result of Jerry Lopez living in the area? Or do you take it further back to people like Rob Morrow? Just curious, see what you got to say. Hope to see you guys soon in the snow. All right, buddy. Late.
Yeah. Thanks, Trevor. Love you too, man. Yeah, and those two guys are very, like Todd Richards and Trevor Graves, we'll get to it, but they came into my snowboard life at the exact same moment, and they offered me so much advice in their own respect. Like Todd was from the athlete side of things, and Trevor was from the business, artistic, the other side of snowboarding, which, you can't just be a good snowboarder, be a pro snowboarder. You got to kind of have the business and the work ethic and the and it's not just about you. It's about the photographer getting the shot, for example, about working together as a team. And I'm very, very thankful for both those guys and Trevor. And we'll get into more Trevor stories. But the surf style and bend, I wouldn't say it's Jerry Lopez. I mean, maybe the style of bend got labeled more surfy style with Jerry's influence. And there's a lot of surfers who come from Hawaii. It's pretty quick to get over and enjoy Bachelor because it's really surfy. And that's always how the mountain's been labeled. But I think the style that is the surf style, it comes from the terrain. I mean, Bachelor is one of a kind. Even Mount Hood, like all the other mountains are different. Bachelor there's no other real place in the world like it, and it's just really flat to start out with. I think it's a volcano, and that means 30 degrees-ish, terrain, and and so you got to kind of flow, which is surfing, and you're getting your speed from those transitions, not just getting it from going downhill because it's steep, and and so that kind of relates with surfing, and then just how the wind blows. So Bachelor's set up, and the wind's coming, all the storms are coming off the ocean, the Pacific out there, and it's blowing. Bachelor's a perfect cone, and so in some spots it's all right-handed wind lips, like kind of skate parky wave, and other sides of the mountain it's all rights, and so it's the easiest way to talk about it in the style is through surfing, I guess. You can really talk about that. But for me, it's a skate park style too. We grew up with Burnside nearby, the original cement skate park. Maybe Marseille, France could be the two originals. But and then pretty early on, all those cement skate parks went wild through Oregon. There's so many choices, and that is a huge part of Bachelor style, I think, too, is getting the speed from those transitions and slashing and airing and little airs and not big, huge jumps exactly, but making almost little lines. And so I think a lot of people have had influence, and the surfing probably just comes like, how do you describe Bachelor? And it's like, oh, that's something that everybody can understand. And Jerry has a huge history of Bachelor, and but it's not the only one. It's a lot of influences and very, very special mountain. And I'm so thankful that I grew up riding Bachelor and moved there, and that in snowboarding or pro snowboarding, you try to be unique. You try to offer something different. And I think Bachelor kind of gave me that opportunity to be a different rider, than if I grew up at Jackson or Baker or something. And then to be proud of that. It's really fun when people come there and they say, oh, Bachelor sucks, it's so flat. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's all something that really makes us smile. It's something that not everybody appreciates right away, especially, and that as time goes on that you learn how special it is. And so, very surfy style, but not the only influence that we have there. I'd say the mountains, the biggest.
We are going to pop on this little segment from Volcom while I go take a fit. I mean, it's a segment about fits. Cue the Volcom.
How's it going, Bombhole? This is Lenny Mazzotti. I'm here with Volcom to talk about my fit. So my fit is the Seth Raw jacket and the Arthur Longo pants. I'm in the off-white Seth Raw daily in Southern California, so this thing's lightweight and breathable. It has a nice loose fit, but it doesn't feel like you're swimming in it. And I complement the off-white with the dark teak Arthur Longo pants. They're the most comfortable pants you'll ever get in, and they have the right type of bagginess. Not the type of baggy that you could jump out of an airplane and be fine with, but the good-looking type. And simplicity is key. Arthur knew exactly what he was doing when he was designing these. So do yourself a favor, get down to your local shop, buy yourself some Volcom gear, and stop asking yourself what you're going to wear that day, because you already know it's going to be Volcom. And I agree with the phrase style over everything, but at least this fit's functional too.
Hey, what's up? I'm Aaron Bittner. I got to test out the Burton step-on system right away. Felt like this was a super comfortable setup, extremely convenient for anybody that is sick of tying their boots and having to bend over or sit down to strap in. This is an awesome setup. You can just tighten down your boots with the BOA system and step right into the binding and you're good to go. Easy in and out, really comfortable, super convenient setup. If you want to check out the full review I did with these boots and bindings, head on over to the Bombholes YouTube channel.
All right, where were we? We were at Mount Hood. Pick us back up.
So the first year at Mount Hood is kind of when it all started. I'd say pro snowboarding. Before then, I was snowboarding a lot, but Mount Hood's when I was able to like meet all the people who had the same goals in life, and then one of those people was Todd Richards. And so once the season ended up in summer camp, Todd offered, or Morrow offered the opportunity to start riding for them. And just being Salem, Oregon, I'm from Oregon, you know, they were located nearby. It was a easy choice to make, I'd say, and it was a really fun, cool choice. And I'm always thankful I made that choice, that it was something like hometown. And so that fall I started riding for Morrow Snowboards. And I think the first contract I signed was just getting free boards, which was something like big time. I was very, very stoked. And bindings and boots and then the opportunity to go over there and meet the board designers. That's kind of what started my interest in how a snowboard's made and designed, and that's kind of carried through my whole career. But that started with Sanders Nye, I guess, at Morrow Snowboards was the board designer back then, and yep, and thank you, Sanders. But he kind of broke it down into simple terms of. He kind of came from a racing background and like how a snowboard functions, and it was just really fun seeing how the boards are built. But and at that time, it was Todd Richards, kind of from the pro snowboarding side of things, and starting that winter after the first summer at High Cascade camp up there, I started traveling around for half pipe contests, and that was kind of what you did at that time. There wasn't any big airs really yet or stuff like that, and. So I started traveling around, and Todd was kind of the athlete inspiration and guidance. And
you guys were teammates, right?
Total teammates, yeah. And traveling everywhere. Him and Christine Sperber, that was his girlfriend at the time, who also offered a lot at a really influential time about how things should work. And she was kind of like an agent, kind of, like you only get what you ask for kind of stuff, and, what's possible. And then at that time, Morrow Salem was Trevor Graves, and they had a marketing department. And it was Trevor Graves, Jeff Bartell, and Chris Holtz. And they eventually went on to start Nemo, which is a huge brand marketing, or I don't know what you call them, creative
design
people.
firm or something, marketing firm
up in Portland. And but riding for Morrow, I just had all the perfect people to look up to and give me guidance on how snowboarding works. And Todd, kind of the snowboard and the athlete side of things, and Trevor. Let me know that you're working together with the photographer. You can't just do your thing and expect the photographer to get the perfect shot of you. You're kind of talking about it, and it's a team effort, and then the graphic design. Kind of the making ads. That was a big part that you're trying to sell snowboarding and promote it as the funnest thing to do in the world, and so those Morrow years, I think there's probably 4 or 5 years that I rode for him. That's kind of just what set the rest of my career up until now, and I'm very thankful. And Robbie Morrow just being so creative and awesome, just in his head and his designs of snowboards, and everybody there was so cool and so just close by that I could visit them, and they gave me a lot of opportunities and really cool team. Mm-hmm. Andrew Crawford was on there, and Terry Takitis. Crafts. He's working down at Google now. I went to his wedding. Just throw that in there.
He's working at Google.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and kind of the divisions of Google that you can't talk about. Yeah,
he's that guy listening to us all the time, knowing what ads to put on our computers.
Yeah, well, one example was the electric car or self-driving cars.
Oh.
They can talk about that now, but for a while it was top secret projects, but yeah, it's interesting. I went to his wedding. Yeah, I'm bouncing around. Sorry, but
it's good.
Crofts, I saw him recently, and it was his wedding, so he had his groups of friends. It was me and Jake Price, and from the snowboard side of things, and then he had his going back to school side of things, and all those kids were younger, and then he had his Google, and he worked at NASA. Interned
Yeah,
at
you worked
NASA
at
for a
NASA,
while,
so
and
some astronauts creeping around.
yeah, it was interesting seeing the different groups and the ages that they were and the creativity. Everybody had something going on, but
Genius.
yeah, crafts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One sidebar
guy.
I just kind of want to highlight is thinking about snowboard brands. We talk about snowboarding on the show all the time. And, you know, we always talk about Forum and maybe Old Burton or maybe M3 occasionally, but Morrow doesn't get brought up enough. I was thinking about it as you talk, and my first snowboard was a Morrow Model T. I loved Morrow as a kid, and they had the Morrow spoon.
Dude, the spoon was
the
huge when
original.
that thing came out.
And think about, I guess it was kind of a short-lived brand, though.
Yeah.
Was that why, maybe?
Yeah, they were. So I started riding for them after the spoon, even. Like, I started riding for them in, what would that be, 95, 96? And I think the spoon was probably 94.
Yeah, that was right after the spoon, huh?
Yeah, it was kind of the era of double barrel, triple barrel, kind of the designs where there's cap construction that kind of went through the boards. And they, let's see, where was I going from? From Morrow, influential. Yeah, they had a bunch of good years. And then, I don't know, if I was to make conversation story interesting, I'd say it was all the step-in that was kind of led to things changing. It was the years that the step-in were getting popular and everybody had to have a step-in. And Morrow started heading that direction, designing it, and it took a lot of financial resources. And then in the end, it didn't quite work out, which every step-in didn't.
Yeah, none of them panned out from that time.
But I think that put him in a different financial situation that led to K2 buying Morrow. And so I rode for Morrow, and incredibly awesome years, everybody involved, and set me on the right path and started me filming with Fall Line. That was kind of the first film companies that were official and that I started filming with. And they gave me my first paycheck. I remember that specifically, too.
What are we talking?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought about the cheddar biscuits, and I thought this is something that I could throw out there. And I remember the exact moment driving with Christine Sperber, and we were going up to a contest in Tahoe somewhere, and I'd signed a contract that was just for snowboards and stuff, maybe months before. And my bank account at that time, I remember the moment that I had $1,000 in my bank account for the first time, and making $70 at Mount Hood. You know, it takes a while to get to that point, and I'm like, whoa, $1,000, and then I remember driving with Christine Sperber, and she's like, yeah, I talked to Morrow for you. Like, she helped me out with that, and they're offering $1,000 a month. I'm like, holy shit.
You were making $7 a day prior.
Like, that changes everything, you know, and it wasn't just travel, but, you know, they were helping me or paying for travel to go to the contest with Todd. But that was just money that I could use to pay rent and get a car that runs. And that was the moment that I turned pro, I would think.
That's when a boy became a man. Right?
Yeah, yeah. But I'll always remember exact moment we were on the road, and thankful for Christine for helping me out, but that was that moment. The cheddar biscuits.
Cheddar biscuits. I got a Patreon question for you.
Yeah.
First, back to that Morrow level talk. After K2 picked him up, you know what happened is Jamie Salters bought him and got him out to every big box store. And
that
then,
was
And then they kind of, that's why we don't talk about them anymore, I think, because they became that brand that was just put through the ringer.
Yeah, so kind of how it went. I got on there. They're awesome, and I guess there was 4 years there, 5 years. And then the step in, and it didn't succeed and took financial resources. They got bought, and then a few of us, Crawford went to Rosignol, but Todd, myself, went up to K2, Morrow K2, and in Vashon Island, and the board designs changed, and there's some really good boards. That's where I got my first board with my name on it, which could be called a pro model. But Todd and I had a line, and his was a 56. Mine was the 62. No, maybe mine was a 59.
Sounds like a pro model.
Yeah, it was I kind of saw it as a pro model. But back in that moment in time, like, pro models weren't that cool. And then it was like, no, you don't want pro models. And kind of the thing was, like Dave Downing, like, was no pro model. You know, it was kind of and then Aggie, who I lived with, was good buddies, which is kind of the Burton. And so it was a pro model, but I don't know if I called it a pro model at that time.
Crazy. I didn't realize there was a stigma on pro models for a moment.
Yeah, it wasn't something that we really saw as something cool.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't uncool, but but it wasn't a status symbol or something. It wasn't
no
something you
turning
brought
pro
up.
parties like there is now type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I have a Patreon question because you talked about getting into filming. And
Who's it from?
Stuck in Ohio.
Shout out to Stuck in Ohio. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, Stuck in Ohio actually delivers consistently some good questions. So I'm sorry that you're stuck in Ohio, but thank you for these questions.
Thank you, Stuck in Ohio.
You filmed with a bunch of legendary crews during your career. Which crew are you the most proud of being part of?
I'm proud of all of them, I guess. And maybe that's the answer is I'm proud that I was able to film with so many amazing crews, you know, not just one. And that's something that I really appreciate, that I was like able to move at the different times in the new crews and be part of them. And for myself, I don't think I would have rode as well or rode the same if I was just with one film company, the same crew, trying to find different jumps, but always at the same jumps. You know, that was something that kept me motivated, was moving on to those crews, and especially at the right time, which like going to MacDog for a decade, that was the right time. Going to Robot Food for Lame, and going to TGR for the Jones movies. You know, it was such a motivation to be showing up like at the crews with the right time and the film parts. And so I'm not, I wouldn't pick one over the other. You know, I appreciate them all.
A gun to the head, you had to pick one. I mean,
yeah,
you know
I think that's what I don't want to Louis Vito it, right?
Yeah, you don't want to Louis Vito it. No.
But I mean, the one that I guess I'm most proud of, the video part I'm most proud of, would be my part in Lame. You know,
that's actually
Robot Food
that's
year.
the correct answer.
Correct answer.
That's actually the
You
correct
win.
answer.
And that's the one, as time goes on, if I'm at like a snowboard party or premiere or something, that's the one that people come up and say, I loved that part. And, you know, that I think the public appreciated the most too. And the one that I feel is the most complete. And just how that season went, it was just tons of smiles. You know, some seasons are frustrating, of course, like show up the wrong place. But that season, it seemed like everything was dialed. And I started Robot Food. Robot Food came out with the first movie, and I was a big fan. And then that was After Bang, and then I came on for Lame. So I wasn't there the first year, but I came on for Lame, and they kind of already had the ball rolling, and we went to jumps that they hit the year before that were new to me. I'm like, this is perfect, and it was just everything about that season was really motivating and fun. And rode with Travis Parker a bunch that year. That's the year where he did
amazing snowboarder.
Yeah, the best. You could easily say the most creative, and going back and looking at his parts is so awesome. And you know, the simplicity, how he, you know, he's not doing the hardest tricks, but he's doing the best tricks. You know, it's and a backside rodeo 1080 was the hardest trick at that time. But I mean, he could even spin on a little ball in the snow, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. But that was very inspirational.
It's interesting to hear you take that point about doing the different crews, being at the right spot, the right time. All the different areas you got to shred and hit new jumps. That must have been just invigorating for you.
Yeah, and that is
instead of 10 years at the same.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the big perfect jump or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
like, that's
everything
really cool.
was new and fresh, but already set up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like last time we built it here, and I think it's supposed to be here, and it's like, okay, let's build it better.
You were like, that's perfect, and explains why you're probably able to have such a long career.
Yeah, it's definitely motivating. Yeah, and being with different people and seeing how different people work, and you know, and taking from that, and definitely appreciate it for every film company I filmed with.
Yeah, going back to film companies. So you had FLF, Fall Line Films, Steak and Lobster. You had one shot in, and then Ticket to Ride, and then Kapow, and then filming for Decade was a major. You know, that was one of the most influential videos in our entire snowboard history. Buds, I think we got a Patreon question in regards to him filming for Decade. You should queue up. It's at the top.
This is from Chuck Nacho, and he asks, what would you say has been a key to longevity in snowboarding for you? The front three you do in the beginning of your part in Decade is possibly the best ever performed on a snowboard. Woo!
Thank you.
Some heavy props right there.
Yeah, that is heavy. Thank you very much. Yeah, Nacho. Is that his?
Yeah, Charles. Chuck Nacho.
Nacho.
Charles.
Yeah, I used to live with him. Back in the day. I'm gonna give him an air horn.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Hope you're doing good, Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks for the compliment.
Those are some props right there. Best front three ever.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and I very much enjoyed the frontside three over my history of snowboarding. it's a simple trick that can show so much style, that you can do so uniquely. And that was a go-to trick many times. And big airs, warm-ups, and what was the question, though?
Key to longevity in snowboarding.
Oh, key to longevity. I'd say changing it up, keeping things fresh. And I'm definitely lucky in my career that fresh things came at the right time. The different film companies, and splitboarding is a perfect example. Splitboarding became really popular when we made a movie, My Own 2 Feet, with Chris Esmonds. And that's kind of when Big Mountain Jones discovered splitboarding too, and a lot of us did. And there was Dave Downing with a part many years earlier, like a full film part. But that was kind of a moment when, like, whoa, this is something that can really get us places and to new places that were forbidden to go to before. And so just like so many fresh things, not always being the same snowboarder, doing the same frontside threes or something, like evolving or doing them in different places. And that's motivating for me, but also motivating for inspiring people to know that, there is places to go in snowboarding, and, you can evolve with time and age and style, and that it is something.
I mean, you have been pro for a long time.
Yeah, I'd say 96 or 95 was kind of when those cheddar biscuits started to come in.
That's impressive right there.
Yeah, it is so surprising. I'm so thankful. And so thankful to all the sponsors that have provided me those opportunities, and the fans who tell me I have nice frontside threes, and that means a lot, and it's very motivating. And it's not a job that just happens. You kind of got to be motivated and inspired, and that comes from new experiences, but just people telling you like good job. And like with Todd Richards, that's super motivating through my career too, and how he's still a big part of snowboarding, and how he's still there to try to impress and show off to him. But it's also the fans and all the people that are making this possible for myself.
Stoking out Todd is basically the key to longevity in your career. Keeping him happy.
Yeah.
Love it.
So going back to video parts, so you did FLF, Decade, you had a couple clips in Tech Diff, I believe, and then it kind of seems like things really escalated with Revival, and I think maybe Brainstorm was around that
you
era.
were in Whitey stuff, right?
The Whitey, like when you started filming,
Destroyer.
and Destroyer was the one I grew up on. First things first, I just want to get right to the chase. We're going to jump ahead with Destroyer. The one thing that sticks out to me is you did a one-footed backflip and you grabbed Melon in Destroyer. Are you the first person to do a one-footed backflip?
I don't know. I mean, I'm the first person I ever saw do. Like when I think about, did I ever invent any tricks? Like in my mind, like it's like the first thing that I never saw anybody do that I did. And I'm like, oh, cool. But I wouldn't think so. And I think when I did do it at the X Games, I think there was a comment like I did one, like somebody else did one earlier. So you never know. I mean,
There's always that
That's
guy.
most tricks. I mean, there's some that could be definitely claimed by certain writers, but maybe somebody's foot fell out on a backflip. but I hadn't seen it
on the way
before.
off.
Yeah.
And also, just curious about why, in Destroyer, you also hit a hip, and it's a backside hip, and you do like an air to fakie or Pop-Tart or whatever you'd call that, and kick your foot out and come down fakie in Destroyer as well. What was the reason for you to let that hoof out of the binding?
I mean, that's always been like I purposely tried not to do one-footers too much because I didn't want to become the one-footer guy. Almost, but it was so fun to pull it out at big air contests or something, and it was such a crowd pleaser. Wah! And but I don't know. I guess maybe it could go back to Willamette Pass. We had a chairlift, and then a chairlift that went all the way to the top, and they're kind of staggered, and you had to ride maybe 30, 40 seconds in between the two, and you didn't buckle in. You had just one foot, and there was a couple little jumps in between there, and you had your foot out, and then maybe that's kind of the start of one footing and stuff like that. And then I enjoyed the shock value, the kind of when you do it, the response you get from people or judges.
It's a crowd pleaser.
And actually, kind of the judges maybe, I did it at the X Games, one-footed backflip, and I did a bronze medal, but it wasn't for the one-footed backflip. I did the one-footed backflip, landed, and I got 8th and placed 8th, and I'm like, oh, geez. And then I went back for the Old Faithful backside 9, which was Old Faithful at that time. Like, kind of took a tip from the book of Kevin Jones, and just get one trick that you can do on any jump. And at that time, jumps didn't have any standard. You'd show up and everything was different. And so it was kind of like learn one good trick, and that's how you can be successful at big airs. But I was super surprised that it didn't impress him more. But
the back nine got him.
They weren't ready
back
for
nine
it.
got third place, and that was my one X Games gold medal, or sorry, not gold, bronze.
Speaking of one-footers,
Yes.
we have an amazing photo Andy Wright sent us that's going to be available. Hopefully he's going to be kind enough to autograph something for us.
Yes.
It's going to be available on bombhole.com, and you're not going a couple feet in the air. You were going, what, like 20 feet in the air?
Going Richter scale.
Richter scale on a hip.
It was a cover, too.
Yeah, it was a cover, Transworld
covers.
magazine, 2 covers.
Yeah.
There was a method
Two
of the
covers at the
one-footer.
same month, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're going to have that shot. Julian will pop it on the screen right now, but we'll have it on the bombhole.com. But that is a big one-footer right there.
Actually, the funny thing is that felt like a small one-footer, I guess. Like how that day went down on that big old hip at June Mountain, Kurt Heine. Thank you, Kurt Heine, for building awesome jumps many times over. But that was one of the best I've ever hit. But I was hitting it with my feet buckled in the whole time and doing backside airs, and it was so fun. Such a awesome day of snowboarding. And then at the end, I'm like, and I'm done. And Brad Kramer's like, hey, how about maybe going up and doing a one-footer? And I'm like, all right. And went up and started way lower and did a one-footer, and it didn't feel very big because all the jumps before were double as high. And so it didn't feel like a big one-footer, but the photo makes it look like a big one.
Andy Wright's a master at the craft, maybe.
Yeah. he
I
is
think
a
it was
master.
just because your method was Richter scale big.
Yeah, the method, and that hip was something from the future too. That was like so well made, just how it balanced out with the run in and the flat bottom and the
Felt smooth.
takeoff. Yeah, everything about it was really friendly. But maybe I look back on it friendly. I kind of remembered. Yeah, I think somebody got hurt that day. Maybe it was Arnie. So he doesn't
really?
look back at it on it as a friendliest hip
I
jump.
think you were just in the zone.
Backside, though, for goofy foots.
Yeah, that was a lucky day of snowboarding.
Well, awesome shots.
Going back to...
Maybe another quick little fun fact. That was the first Digi cover, too. Digital photo.
no
yeah,
way.
Andy Wright said that. First digital cover.
Yeah.
That was
kinda-
right when it switched from film to digital.
Yeah.
That's incredible. During that time, we would actually roll with both in our pack, almost confused. Like, what do I do? What should I shoot? Oh, do I shoot this or that? And you'd almost shoot for like half the day with the film, and then the other half on the Digi, not knowing.
Yeah.
And then you just, after he got that cover, he probably just left his film camera on the table and just proceeded to go all Digi.
Yeah.
But that's actually that's history right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and I enjoy those parts of being part of those parts of history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a fun fact.
So going back, keeping her on the rails chronological a little bit here, you were filming for Whitey, and in those videos, you have Revival, Destroyer, Brainstorm, etc., and there's skits and things like that. How is your experience filming for those Whitey movies, and do you have a favorite Whitey movie part?
Whitey movie part, I think probably the one with Backside 9.
Brainstorm.
Was it? Yeah, that was probably my favorite Whitey part. But there's a Whitey teaser that we came out with one year too that was just part of the teaser, but I was super proud of that teaser. It came out and it got me so stoked to focus on trying to get a full video part, and that was when teasers came out at the trade shows in January, and so it was kind of perfectly timed to continue on from there. I think that was the Destroyer teaser. I remember it was the Metallica.
That's sick that your favorite part's a teaser.
In Destroyer, him and Chad Otterstrom are driving the van, the mini. It's a minibus, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are like getting baked in there, and it's like,
In New York, we were the hippie stoners.
get in, man, or something.
Yeah. LeBlanc was the policeman.
Oh yeah.
Twos was the bum. He came
Yeah,
up.
bum.
Beat it, bum.
Yeah.
LeBlanc should get some sort of Emmy or something for his acting.
Yeah,
those times.
yeah, he was good. The rest of us weren't. But,
You were all good, but he was great.
but that was kind of the fun of it.
Well, you mentioned
Putting us in uncomfortable positions.
I think skits should make a comeback,
Yes.
personally. Going back to Brainstorm, you mentioned that part, and that one, I went and revisited it, and incredible all-around part. You backside 900 pyramid gap in that part, and that today, fun fact, sidebar, I had it was a DC ad, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up with a poster of Dirksen on my wall. It was a back nine on Pyramid, which is actually pretty cool now that we're sitting next to each other, having a little moment. It's cool. But that today would still be an ender. I love a trick like that. You know, however many years later, that same trick would end anybody's video part. Talk us through the back nine on Pyramid Gap.
Well, I guess the whole day we hiked up Grizzly Gulch, me and Crofts, and we hit another jump. And it was a pretty fun little powder step down. And the day was a success. We kind of hit a fun jump, landed, and then from across the valley we could see the Pyramid Gap there. And we went over there, and some skiers had built it, and we're hitting it. And we showed up and like, whoa, cool. And we were just kind of, I think Twos was there too. And so we were kind of sitting around, and Crawford's like, I'm going to go ask him if we can hit it. And he went up and asked them, and they said, yeah, we're going to hit it like 1 or 2 more times, and then it's all your guys's, which I always look back on and think that's so nice and kind of them. You know, there's so many moments that you're like, no way, this is our jump. And like we used to, as a group, destroy like takeoffs and stuff so that they wouldn't be there, and for somebody else to just walk up and hit, you know. But it's kind of, if you spend 2 days building a jump, then... But it was super nice and genuine that they let us hit it. And so went up there, Crawford hit it first, and it was just really perfect setup, and takeoff, run in, and I think I backside 7'd it, and the whole session was kind of awesome, and backside 9'd, which I was super stoked on. And that was a time when I did a lot of backside 9s and could kind of pull them out at any moment, and backside 7 even more. That was kind of my go-to trick. And with filming, it was the trick if I didn't land after 10 times, like just go for the backside 7, pull it out. But just great jump. It didn't seem as big as the photos made it look. You know, it's so well built and put together. And I was super stoked, and that was really fun seeing the DC ad. You know, the single frame sequence. That was kind of the times, and then was that kind of style with skateboard and DC skate ads and stuff.
Morphed sequence, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And
did J2 hit the Pyramid Gap?
I don't think so. No, just I only remember being Crofts. But I mean, it was a long time ago. I don't quite remember it all clearly. Like if you told me to go up and go find the Pyramid Gap, I don't know if I'd quite find it. I probably would. You just go up the valley until
you go to the top of the valley.
That maybe a little something about myself. I guess when I see that ad or that shot, I always think about I landed, and then that gap always has that wind lip that's maybe 100 feet down, you think? And I landed, and I flipped around before that little wind lip so I could go over it without getting bucked crazy. And that always kind of drives me crazy. When I look back, the 9 was nice, but I'm like, I shouldn't have flipped around and should have,
You still think about it all these years later.
Losing sleep.
I think if I see that sequence, that's what's going to come to mind is that wind lip after.
That night you'll wake
Not
up
the
in
only
a cold
thing to come
sweat.
to mind, but yeah.
So going back to the 900, obviously you have your most famous quote from Robot Food, something along the lines of, I could care less if I ever do a 900 again, but the sponsors like it, something along those lines.
Yeah,
you had to
like
have been approached by so many people for saying that and ask if you still do 900s and things like that.
Yeah. And so that was, what was that, Afterbang movie?
Yeah.
That was interviews, and that movie, I also said that I didn't like jibbing, which I'm like,
I'd rather jib on my skateboard. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for the record, I don't hate jibbing or something, and I don't hate 900s either. But what's that?
You're a jib hater, huh?
No, I'm not a jib hater.
You're hating on the streets?
He just says he chooses not to, really.
Oh.
But both those things were kind of true. Like for the 900s, like it's kind of at a time when I appreciated frontside 3s more than 900s, and 900s seemed like the trick that I got on lock so I could do well at a snowboard big air contest, or I could show up at a big jump and get an awesome shot, but it wasn't like my favorite trick, or I like the simple kind of the frontside 3s, and so there was truth in that. And then the jibbing comment too. It wasn't that I didn't hate jibbing. It was just kind of from our Bachelor, we didn't have handrails there, and we didn't have a park forever. And when I worked up at Hood, there was no rails. There The only time we'd set up a rail was when Kevin Jones came into town, and he was the only one who'd hit it. Like all the campers, no one would hit it, and
Really, you
it
just got there solo.
Yeah, it just wasn't our like style of snowboarding was no part, and it didn't. And I did try to hit rails a few times, and it was maybe 1 out of 10 I would crash viciously. And which kind of makes it like, I don't know if I like rails, you know?
Were these park rails or street rails?
You know he's got razor sharp edges.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
He probably sharpens them every night.
Yeah, I didn't understand or just think about detuning my edges or stuff like that. But I also had Kevin Jones going, nah, I don't detune my edges. Like he would just out of whatever, he would just hit a rail without touching his edges. Just he was so talented and good. But for me and like many of our friends and for many Bachelor riders, like just rails isn't part of our riding. And a lot of my history of snowboarding, rails weren't a thing, like even anywhere. And there was snow that in bends sometimes, but it wasn't really that you could go hit street rails so much. And so just for the record, I don't and never did hate rails, and I appreciate people doing awesome stuff on it, but it was just kind of never. And same thing with 900s. But those quotes, those came out, I'm like, oh, man. And, I try to have an opinion on things, and but I try not to be a shit talker, and that seemed like when those quotes that I was shit talking, but might as well have something to say. And it wasn't that they're totally false, but that was a time. I don't know if I did too many 900s after that. And these days, for sure, no. Like, I think there was one time maybe a year or two ago that I hucked off a tiny little wind lip Bachelor 700, no grab, and like whipping it around. And it felt so awkward and forced. But it's pretty rare that I even grab my board these days, and but to go back to like turning and stuff too, I think, I've always enjoyed tricks and trying to do them perfect and as perfect as possible. And then after a while, as you get older, you can't, focus on those. And I think that's where turning something that's timeless that you can always try to improve, and that's what turning kind of brings my snowboarding. It's something that you can practice and improve at without making your knees hurt. And
you don't grab your board either?
Nah, I wouldn't think so. No.
That's tight, dude. You can be a pro and not grab your board.
Yeah.
Have you seen him lay down a hillside, though?
Dude, it's amazing. It's
but
like
I'll try to do like shifties or something. It's not that I'm going in the air and don't care about anything. But as far as grabbing the board, it's like, no, I don't see really.
Dude, I agree. As age goes, you can
for me,
the turn is just something you can it's there.
Yeah, and that will always be there until you can be 70 years old and it's still something like, I want to work on this turn, get a little cleaner.
And it feels awesome. And in the powder, it's like such a thing. And it's so different with spinning and grabbing.
If you look at the era of your career, it's just not sustainable to be doing huge airs on hips and wild tricks. It has an expiration date, and thank God that you found the kind of perfect like phase. Splitboarding came around right at that right time, and you were able to just transition beautifully from freestyle snowboarding into kind of naturally human powered snowboarding and whacking turns and bank slaloms and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's all the key to the longevity.
Yeah, and keeping inspired with new things. And I mean, with the tricks, it's there's a point in any rider's career where you gotta pass the torch. That you want to see other people do it, and they're gonna do it how I'd want to do it. And it's no longer me doing it how I want to do it. It's like, oh, that's how I want to. And so yeah, I don't miss like the big tricks, but I had a lot of fun doing them when during those times.
When yours was the backside 9, just imagine these kids today.
Yeah.
21s and all that.
How would you be feeling about that?
If you were feeling like a 900 was too much spinning, how are you feeling about an 1800?
Yeah, but I watched Ben Ferguson's new movie, and he did some awesome back 9s, and I really enjoyed watching them more than any other trick in that movie. And it got a little special place in my heart, the 900s or the backside 9s to be exact. And that one, during those days, you needed a 9. And then Kevin Jones was a frontside 9. UC was a switch backside 9. And so it was kind of like, which 9 am I going to choose? And backside 9 seemed like the one that wasn't as popular as the rest.
Nice.
And, I had a lot of fun cap 9s too. But yeah, those times.
I got a
things in the
trick
past.
nerd question. When you watch your old parts, I think you do a few of them, but I always loved you would do Wildcat late back when 80s. They weren't quite a back rodeo. I think at one point, Turrier kind of had a similar deal where he grabbed Melon and do it, but I think you grabbed Indy, if I remember correct, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
And so what I just want to know your thought process on the Wildcat late 180.
I was listening to Peter Lyne's Bomb Hole recently too, and there was some good conversation on that. But I mean, to start out with, it was just what made sense in my head, and I didn't do backflips for quite a while. There was, or get even upside down, like for many years. And then there's one year I remember I'm learning to backflip, and I backflipped definitely once a day whenever I go snowboarding off everything, and I got him to where it's almost easier than a straight jump. And so when backside rodeos came around, the backflip part was what I kind of knew. And I just couldn't do a backside rodeo like Peter Line or something for sure. And that's just how my backside rodeos happened. And they were a little loose. They weren't super consistent, my backflip backside 180. But I was also a big fan of Hawkin. Maybe that was something too. And Subject Hawkinson, I think he had some of those in there. But I'd imagine it was my riding was flat spinning, and then it came straight backflip, and then it was combining those two, and so it was like the backflip and the spin, and that's just how it happened.
Love the breakdown. So we just talked 900. I want to know if you have an opinion on watching a slopestyle contest, on seeing kids doing 1800s.
I'm impressed, but I'm more impressed on a 900 or different tricks.
A 900 is more impressive?
For me. Or more just relatable,
right?
relatable, understandable. And I mean, 1800, I don't understand it.
So you do a 900, and then you do a whole nother 900.
That's what it is?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
I thought there was something wrong with like the footage, and it was playing too fast, or so. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. For myself, just because I'm old, I appreciate the simpler stuff, and that was always what I strive for in snowboarding, and I have a lot of respect for those tricks and how dangerous and crazy they are. But in my brain, they don't quite compute. And,
See, I'm old, and I'd love to watch them just because it's so amazing,
Yeah, I enjoyed the Danny Davis Peace Park last year. I judged that with you,
right.
Grenier.
Yeah, we were judges.
And that was perfect. And it had a little dash of some like double corks and stuff, some
nothing too
impressive
far,
tricks,
though, huh?
but it was a mix of absolutely everything that I understand, and that was the perfect contest for me to enjoy.
You know what was so special about that contest was the park day that we judged, where they were just riding park. It was Red and all these guys and ladies just ripping, and they were doing run after run. I don't know, maybe they did 20 runs, we'll say, for the sake of this conversation. But you got to see how deep people's bags of tricks were.
Yeah.
That was really fun to see.
The jumps weren't huge either.
They weren't huge, and they were mixing it up every time they came down.
Yeah.
I thought it was
and they weren't
fascinating.
stock. They're maybe a little bit of a hip put into a straight jump, and everything had a little something different in it.
You could see what these guys are made of out there, huh?
Yeah.
Little jib thrown in there too in the middle, couple jibs.
So going back to robot food here, I would say that for almost anybody that's a snowboard nerd, most people are in agreement. Not all, but most are in agreement that robot food. I mean, and you also film for MacDog, and you also, but particularly robot food was kind of like the golden era of snowboard videos, in my opinion. And it had such a huge impact on everybody. Almost anybody that comes in, you ask them their favorite movie, Lame or something, Afterbang, all these things. A lot of people tend to trend that direction. Did you feel the effects these videos were having on the snowboard culture when you guys were making them?
I guess before robot food, it seemed like we were all trying to be badass, tough, serious, and robot food was kind of a moment when it's like, oh, we're having fun. It's you're trying to be goofy and I mean that's what you want snowboarding to be, and that's what we're trying to do when we go snowboarding is have fun and be funny and have fun with your friends and that seemed like a good direction that it took snowboarding that it still shows today. And before that,
Did you go whitey to robot food?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Brad Kramer was on shooting for both, or no? No, maybe not.
No, do you have a
it was
list
Jess.
there?
It was Jess
Happy
Gibson,
hour
huh?
to lame.
Oh
So-
yeah,
Happy
and Happy
Hour
Hour
lane.
is a random year. I didn't have too solid of a season that year. Like showing
I'm just
up and not
wondering if like the
landing
Whitey movies was more of a tough and serious.
But it was Whitey movies, and then Brad Kramer filmed Happy Hour.
Oh, Brad Kramer
Yeah,
did.
yeah. He was kind of in charge more than Whitey. I think he was in charge of the movie.
Yeah, I think he was.
And then Robot Food went to Robot Food, and that was perfect timing. And yeah, a lot of if you look at kind of my snowboard history and movie parts, I kind of had good years, bad years, good years, bad years.
I think with a long
that's-
career, that's just going to happen, huh?
Yeah, but also I think after a bad year, I was really motivated to have a good year.
year.
And after a good year, I was not as motivated.
Yeah, you're
you know,
kicking
and-
back a little bit. I
or
just
that's
had
a little bit
year
of
my life.
laziness, or not laziness, but
Chilling
No,
a
it was
little.
really motivating to have a bad year, and like, no, that's not the part that I wanted to have, and that would lead to good years. And then when it matched up with film, like linking up with a good crew, like a fresh, awesome, like motivated crew, like Robot Food that one year, you know, is perfect for good things
New
to
and
happen.
exciting.
Yeah.
Or you were
The-
signing 2-year
the-
contracts. And
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
have some
the
team
first year
managers.
you're relaxing, and
Contract
then you're
year.
like, oh, I got to get a
Yeah.
part out of this contract here.
But I had a lot of luck with that too. Like, I mean, it was 2-year contracts, and I'm sure a lot of my old team managers would be like, "Oh, Dirksen," but maybe that came into my mentality too.
Yeah.
And, I didn't mean it to be like that, but you know, when your career's on the line and you think you can do better than you did the last year, you know, things come together, and it's not all planned by myself. You know, weather comes into it, and but yeah, it's a lot of lucky breaks. But I had lucky breaks with contracts too, and how those fell into
A
place.
career as long as yours is a lot more than luck, though, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of luck in there for sure. But and a lot of luck that just gives me motivation, which makes for a long career. But yeah, I like how it all fell into place, and how it wasn't always easy or every year perfect. And I like the storyline.
Keeps
going
you
along.
motivated, huh?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
still one more thing on Robot Food I wanted to cue in on, because these videos had such a huge impact on the culture. And in my opinion, I think, like you mentioned it earlier, but to re-articulate it, I think snowboard videos were in a place where it was like, we want to make the best video with the best tricks and the biggest pros. And there was this kind of balance of A-grade hammers with spinning around on top of a freaking trash can. And, you know, you guys are having fun, and, you know, Benedict's board sliding a box with an 80-inch stance, and like, you guys are being dipshits. And so what I'm curious about is, did you guys go into those projects when you were filming Lame? Did you have like an ethos, like, we're attempting to make this movie that's going to be relatable to, it's going to humanize us to the audience? Are we going to tactfully try to get this fun footage, or did it just all happen naturally?
Well, to start out with, I was just along for the ride, you know, with Robot Food. And I mean, with many of the projects I worked with, I hop on and just enjoy being around the crew. And I mean, that was the crew, and that's what they did. And maybe Robot Food movies were so influential because they gave people something relatable, you know, as a moment when tricks were getting so complicated. And, you know, if you throw in stuff that's like, oh, it's not all about those complicated tricks, it's about everything included. But and maybe that's was my style of writing too, but it wasn't my plan. It was me showing up and just fitting in well with the Robot Food crew, and them being on such an awesome plan. And it was the writers, but it was also the filmers and even the photographers who were influencing the sessions that we get into. And I mean, if you have your filmer like, nope, that's not good enough, then that's not very motivating. But if it's something simple and then it makes the movie and I mean, it just makes snowboarding relatable at that moment when it was maybe getting a little out of control.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and talk to you guys about some socks. Jed Anderson rides them, Jill Perkins ride them, and I ride them. Of course, you know I'm talking about Stance. If you've ever seen a pair of socks with the Icon logo on the ankle, then you know about Stance. Stance has been making some of the most comfortable and creatively designed socks and underwear for the snowboarding community for a while. They also make Celtics, Boston Red Sox gear. I got all kinds of collaborative gear from them. But lately, their designers have been bringing in the same winning formula to clothing. We're talking joggers, hoodies, hats, and tees. They even got a Wu-Tang collab. Thing's kind of fire. Toe-to-head comfort and creativity. Head on over to stance.com and use promo code THEBOMBHOLE to save 20% off. Again, stance.com, promo code THEBOMBHOLE. I love it. Well, all this video talk, buds, you know what it's time for?
I think it's time for Name That Video part.
Name That Video part is presented by our friends over at Mammoth Mountain Buds. Mammoth's got something for everybody, even Stony Buds.
It's a heck of a mountain, and, you know, they put that little pipe in. And, wow, good times over there, man.
I was thinking about this when I was driving the other day, and this is important with mountains. If you go to a resort that has bad park jumps, it's like myself personally, I feel like I have a hard time. I'm like, am I bad at snowboarding?
You actually think it reflects on you.
It does. But you go to Mammoth, the jumps, shout out to the park crew. I mean, it's been known forever that their park jumps are just unbelievably good. You go ride those jumps, they make you feel like a better snowboarder.
Is that why you guys all look so good from the lift when I'm going over? And they have little jumps for guys like me, and I feel good too, so I know what you're talking about.
They got everything, and if you just want to rip turns like Dirksen and rip some fat toe sides, some heel sides, this is a giant mountain with endless terrain. So if you're interested in a nice little snowboard vacation, check out Mammoth Mountain. They support the show. You should support them. With that being said, let's get right into Name That Video part. Dirksen, earlier you mentioned you have a strategy, and I don't know what that is, but I want to hear about it. He said he has a strategy.
Well, I guess I thought about it, and my confidence level wouldn't be too high, but I think you kind of give people parts or that they might know, and so I think you're going to be nice. And so, I thought I maybe would be able to guess before you even give me the video part.
Oh,
you know?
Wow! All right, he's gonna pre-guess.
I would love the pre-guess.
Alrighty.
He's the pre-guess.
This is really exciting.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I almost would think we should give him like 2 or 3.
I don't think he's gonna get it, but
let's give him 3 tries.
I'll give you 3. We'll give you 3.
Yeah, maybe that'll even come into my strategy if you don't think I'm going to get it. But I mean, you've been talking about robot food a lot, and you're a big fan, and so maybe robot food, but maybe not the one that I was in. And so I'd go for maybe it's going to be something in robot food after Bang, the first one, or maybe a Subject Hawken movie. I don't know how you'd get to that, but let me think.
Sometimes you'll ask
one more.
people close
you got one
to
more.
you.
The first 2, I'll say right now. Incorrect.
Sometimes he'll call someone close to you and ask them.
No, I did a deep dive. I actually pulled a robot food. I pulled a robot food song, and I said, you know what? This is too much of a low-hanging fruit.
But one time,
you're
not throwing meatballs.
Yeah, I've been putting a little more thought into it. So people give me shit for going too easy. So
one time we had someone
hopefully you give me easy.
Or Subject Hawkinson.
Yeah. And especially if it's something from over the last 10 years, I think
he's
I would fail
giving you
miserably.
a lot of information here. So what's your third guess?
Third guess will be Mikey LeBlanc in Kingpin when he launches off the Brighton
Brainstorm.
Drop.
Brainstorm?
Holy shit, the only person to pre-guess the song.
Yeah, this is
oh
history.
My God, that's
is
unbelievable.
Part history right here.
You truly won this on the third guess. You got a bomb hole prize pack. It is Mikey LeBlanc and Brainstorm.
Dude.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Holy smokes, Dirksen. I can't believe you pre-guessed that.
I can't believe
I'm a little surprised too. But
dude, he went video and rider. Like the first 2
he
movies.
He says Mikey LeBlanc. I'm like, okay. And he says Kingpin. I'm like, oh. And he says Brighton Dam. I'm like, you did it. You did it.
The first 2, he didn't even throw out riders. That's what's crazy. He just said videos.
Yeah, that is.
And that's one of my
nice.
favorite video parts of all time.
It
so
is.
even
Yeah.
I knew that one.
Yeah, I'd
figured-
agree. Double song even.
Yeah.
Yep, you're
Two
in-
songs.
I thought it was a good pick. You're in Brainstorm,
That
but
was
it
a
was a
great
while
pick.
ago. But it's kind of the obvious one's robot food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of riding high off of this.
Yeah, I'm kind of riding high too.
I
now,
almost
dude.
gave you this one too. This is for the listeners.
This
If
is not to say.
You can
Yeah, we'll
try to
bleep you
guess it,
out.
And you'll bleep
if
it
you'd
out?
like. We'll beep it out. But for those who don't know, we pick our winner on Instagram. When his episode comes out, the photo of Dirksen. That's where you leave your comment on the Bombholes Instagram.
You get a
That's where we
prize
pick our
pack.
winner. And this is actually a meatball for the listeners. Everybody's gonna know this one, but here we go.
Great song.
All right, thank you to our listeners for
Should
participating.
give him the prize pack.
Name that
yeah.
video part. Yeah,
Yeah.
give him
Oh,
the prize
very
pack.
much.
What do you got in the prize
riding
pack?
so high.
Well, I got a Yeti cooler there, and I got
Yeti
the bomb
carry-all.
hole. That looks like my style. Listen to the bomb hole.
Got a
like
nice
corduroy
hat.
caps.
All
Listen to
this
the bomb hole.
stuff
We got
is
stickers
available
Will
at
Todd Richards be
bombhole.com.
jealous of that one?
Yeah, he would be.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Coffee mug. That's
With
what
the
I do.
Eastone
Oh,
on
it's
it.
the
Oh,
same
you got
coffee
the-
mug I got here.
You got the Enome.
Yeah.
You can drink.
Is that a bomb hole coffee mug?
Yeah, that's me on there.
All right.
A bunch of bomb hole swag.
Dirksen, thank you for playing and winning. Name that video part.
Yeah.
That was
Unreal.
That was history of our show right there. That
Yeah,
was
you
great.
just
That was
you
great.
just broke the internet with
Yeah.
that.
That was like you were psychic.
Yeah, that was psych. That
That
was
was
maybe
a funny
some
look on your
telepathy.
face when I
Dude,
guessed it.
yeah. I knew you were right when I looked at his face. Just like,
I thought I had a good one there.
you
Wow.
did have a good one.
All right. You know what it's a good time for?
The crowd went
It's
wild.
a good
on
time
that
for to get in. We got a freaking basically a board scientist on our hands
one.
here.
Oh, snap.
So we got to talk tech talk here.
Dude, when you and Nils hang out, it must just be like
They actually have graphs and
Yeah.
they got like what
they
are
got
those
pie charts.
They got charts going. What's the thing that you use in geometry where
Yeah,
you draw
the,
angles?
Beyond Me.
Protractors.
Protractors.
They got protractors going and
Compass
everything.
could have come in handy.
Yeah, they got a
Drawing
compass.
some side cuts.
I can just imagine you guys.
You guys are like they're on the ground looking at the side.
They're
cut.
not even on the ground. They're on belay
Yeah.
with protractors talking about board graphics.
So let's
Chopped
talk
up.
snowboards here. You have a lot of input in the design of snowboards, and you test boards. You're a big part of R&D. I know you've developed some boards with Solomon. I'm just curious, like, what are you doing when you're testing a snowboard, and what makes a good snowboard in your opinion?
Yeah, I really enjoy designing snowboards and understanding them. And that was from the time I started riding for Morrow until now. That's a big part of my life. But with Solomon these days, I guess they kind of know the snowboards that I like even, or they design snowboards, the Super 8 to be specific. I didn't design that board, but I think they designed it for me. And it came out and they're like, this is the board you're going to like. And I've been on Solomon now for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. Yeah. And, and they definitely, I've commented over those 20 years and they definitely know what kind of snowboard and the style of snowboards I like. And I like clean side cuts, nothing wobbly or crazy in there. I like a radius. And then I like wider boards. Like I said earlier, 26.5 is kind of my standard for my 9.5 foot. That I can't really ride something less than that. It's not only the width isn't only the like heel drag or whatnot, but it's also just how a wider board flexes. There's just more there.
Torsionally.
Yeah, and maybe not just torsionally. I think torsional would be kind of that. It's kind of just how it rides under your feet. If a board gets too narrow, even if it's a stiff, narrow board, it doesn't ride right for my preference. And the sidewall thickness, like if you look at a sidewall, I can kind of tell if I'm going to like a board. In front of my front foot, I hate boards that fold on my heels. So it just kind of kink at a moment. So having that sidewall that extends past where my front foot is set, that's something that's kind of important to me. And that the boards I ride on Solomon are all going to be kind of free ride boards with a kind of a thicker core profile that extends out towards the nose. And having a nose that's not too soft, that's something that drives me crazy.
Why?
And Because it just folds, or just like it would fold if the board's too thin, gets too thin after my foot. But just if the nose folds over and going over the handlebars, that's the main way that I crash in snowboarding and flying over. And so having a board that can start to prevent that is something. And these days I like all Vole's boards. Vole's got the Hillside project on Solomon, and so Vole Nevelt makes Asmos. Spectacular
Volemon.
POW surfer. And he has a little factory by his home that he makes the Asmo boards and presses them. And then over the last couple of years, Solomon started paying him per board. And so he can design any board that he wants, any shape, flex, anything. And he just makes boards that he wants and that we talk about and that other riders on the team talk about. And then he just hands them off to the riders, but to Solomon, and then everybody rides them. And if it's a good board, then it ends up in the line. And so you'll see the boards in the Solomon line with the little H, Hillside. Those are the ones that Vole designed and that everybody had input in. And every board on Solomon has input, but especially like the Vole designs. And those are, like when I say like a board, there's boards that I like. Like if I picked a standard board, it's going to be the Solomon Super 8. But I'm very glad that I don't ride the Solomon Super 8 every day of the year. Last year I probably rode 15 different boards, I think.
Wow, 15.
Yeah, I think so. I have a board if I'm riding around with my 9-year-old daughter, Alana. Then I have a smaller board that kind of turns quick and more fun and more nimble. And Bodie's boards, I love getting those things. He always has, Solomon makes his boards like 170s. And some years they don't even sell them because there's maybe 6 people in the world who want to buy a 170, but Bodie's one of them who needs them. And
so Bodie's pro model sales are not too
well,
big.
He has
huh?
different size boards too.
Okay.
Some
Smart,
smaller size.
Smart guy.
But I really like those boards that he makes. And but all the boards I get from Solomon are stiffer and not
stiffer than production.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And for sure, that's a pretty standard thing. And they used to be like twice as stiff at production. And that was just back in the days when the only thing that matters is landing off a kicker. Mm-hmm. And in those moments, if you have a nice stiff board to rally over the bomb holes. All right. And but my boards have got a little more friendly and normal. But my boards are all stiffer. And kind of at Solomon, when they prototype, they come out with the flex that they think is going to be production, and then they come out with one stiffer, one softer. So they kind of know which boards to send me or which boards to pick up. And
like the tolerance, it didn't make production tolerance.
Yeah, like so what's going to be the perfect the flex for the normal person, and the one they choose is not the one for Dirksen. They
That's
send me
sick, and then you're like, I'll take these.
Yeah, and so I ride a lot of prototype boards these days because graphics don't quite matter as much. And if I have a choice, I'll just have a board with a black base or something, and that's what a lot of prototypes come out with too. And this year I just went into the prototype room and like hand-picked the boards that I wanted.
What you like.
Yeah. And I'm definitely specific, which is almost it's annoying, that all boards aren't perfect. But luckily, there's a lot of boards to choose from, and I can find them all. And it's fun having an opinion on something and having Vole design even more. But I'm not just happy with one board, but I definitely have one kind of board that's the standard, and then everything kind of comes off from there. And but
I've ridden those Hillside projects, and they're nice boards.
They're so well designed. And Solomon has a lot of, Vole, of course, influences the boards that he doesn't design at Solomon too. The Solomon listens to riders really well.
And so he'll make those at his house?
Yeah.
Really cool.
At his factory by his house.
He has a factory by his house, and
he'll make anything, like any possible change you can make on a snowboard he can do. And then Solomon provides him with the materials, the bases, the top sheets, the sidewalls, and the programs to make it all. It's a really
really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity for myself. Staying inspired is how I keep snowboarding going, and having different boards to inspire me is a big thing too. Not just the people I hang around.
You got 15 boards mounted up at your crib?
Not mounted up,
no,
but I can mount it up pretty quick. If I have a board I like, I'll kind of trace my stance on there, and so I can throw it back on there pretty quick. But
there's some cool things thinking about product testing too, because I think a lot of pro athletes offer criticism on the board.
Yes,
but I think a big part of research and development is not only offering criticism but a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of R&D. And one example of you doing that is designing the backseat camber. That was your camber profile that you kind of conjured up, correct? Do you want to explain what that is for the listeners?
Well, camber is when the middle of the board is higher off the ground. Of course, everybody knows that. And then there's kind of banana. That's like what everybody hated for a bunch of years, and everybody said we need to go back to camber.
That's reverse camber.
Yeah, reverse camber, exactly. But I think we didn't go back to camber. We kind of went back. Like if you look at any board, it's not a cambered board from 1998. You know, it's a blend of all the new ideas. But kind of when a new idea comes out in snowboarding, it goes to the extreme. Like when magnet traction first came out, it was wow, 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 wow. And then you'll see boards with it just subtle. And that's the solution that was like in the end what was needed. But with the backseat camber, I guess the camber is centered over the middle. And then if you ride your board set back 1.5 inches, then you could kind of think in your head that the camber should be set back 1.5 inches. And then the backseat camber is backseat camber technically is it's kind of flat until the back foot, and then it kind of drops into some camber. And so when you put it on a table, it just looks like camber.
So the camber starts at the back foot to the
tail?
tail?
Yeah, it kind of starts to like the middle back foot and then goes from there, and then the front of the board is flat. When you put it, it just looks like camber. But yeah, it has some thought put into it. But maybe it goes back at the beginning of the show when you asked me about turning, and I said putting weight on that back foot. That's kind of where I want my camber and where I want the resistance, so I don't.
You can like
it's
load
a little bit
that
of a
back
balancing.
foot.
Yeah, and you can kind of balance on it a little better when there's some resistance.
Ah.
And like a banana board, reverse camber, those drive me absolutely crazy. They just seem so slippery and wrong.
Yeah, you try to ollie on one for the first time. You're just like, wow.
Great for a nose press.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Yeah, the camber, but even the backseat camber has kind of changed a little bit. Everything every year is fine-tuned and updated, and just for, not that it was a bad idea, but just like moving forward and new ideas and new inspiration. And that's kind of what the boards, I don't want to ride the same board. But I did, last year I rode a bunch of old boards too. Like and Solomon doesn't really expect me to ride like the newest board graphic, and so I kind of just ride. There's boards that didn't quite get their day when I received them, and I'll go back and ride those, and it's fun revisiting ideas and then kind of putting them into new thoughts, and so yeah, I enjoy it, but I definitely am not satisfied with just one board.
I love it. Now, this is a personal question I'd like you to debunk, because in my head you keep talking about wider boards. And I've ridden some wide boards, because I got a size 10 foot, and oftentimes, the toe and heel drag on a normal board is a little narrow. So I bump up to a wide, and I have a hard time sometimes getting them on edge. It feels like getting a wider board, like going from edge to edge. I kind of have it in my head that a wide board is not as easy to get up on its edge for, I guess reactiveness, you could say.
Yeah.
Can you debunk this for me? Because I'd like to understand.
Well, for a while I said that wider the better, and then I rode. Vole had a pro model that it was 27, and then it was too wide. There is a width that's too wide, and then like reactiveness, that does make sense that wider boards not going to be as much pressure. But I think it's also how the board's built. Like if a wide board's built with a lot of side cut, it's going to be pretty quick to get onto that side cut, and then the actual time is just milliseconds. That's not really something that makes difference. But a wider board is going to be less pressure on the edge, I think, that you can put on there, and so. But I think it's the whole board design, not just the width. That's why I was saying the width makes me like or hate the flex more differently too. It's kind of just how the board's all overall put together. And if a board is really wide but has a little bit of taper, that's going to make it more nimble. And so, yeah, every board's unique, and it's in many ways. It's not just one thing that you can pick out and say, that's the standard.
Yeah, so a wide board with no side cut is probably what I've ridden, where I've been like, this thing is just takes so much effort to get on edge, but a wider board with a more aggressive side cut, I'm going to be able to get that thing up on edge. Easy.
Yeah, and side cut can also mean where it kind of reaches that contact point at the nose, how catchy that moment is. If it's really catchy, then it's going to get you there really quick. and it'll get you really pressuring. And yeah, maybe I like wide boards too. And
So wait, you like it catchy
on
on the contact point?
Yeah, maybe.
For rip and turn?
I definitely noticed the contact point of a board now, and that's where how boards have changed with the reverse camber is especially on those contact points. If you just raise them up 0.01 of a millimeter, that's going to make a board friendlier or quicker, or it'll change things.
Which is good for a beginner because it's not as grabby, but not as good for somebody that wants to race Baker banked and rail corners.
Yeah, maybe, but sometimes I wonder if I have the problem of things happening too twitchy. I'm kind of pretty twitchy when I'm snowboarding, like turning, and I kind of almost want a board that's not happening as quick. And I've kind of played around with big long side cuts on Solomon just so I have a board that things don't happen as fast. I kind of do what I do, and I don't want to end up going back uphill all of a sudden. And so boards that don't react as quick is something that I enjoy sometimes too.
This is a really interesting thing for listeners and for myself. I've been excited to ask. Now, I saw your setup when you came to Bomb Hole Cup this year. Also, thank you for coming. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And you had a small high back in the front, like a mini little high back, and then a full-size high back in the back. Now, why do you ride that setup?
Well, that question's been asked a million times. I've answered a million times, and I guess in like the first moment, it was just kind of boredom. Like, what can I do to make a snowboard feel different? And the first thing I did was there's a few things, but like I've had a no high back on the back, high back on the front, and I'd say people can make more sense out of that. But I guess I filmed for that Insight movie for Transworld. And it was kind of when I stopped to grab my board, and I kind of do shifties, and I'm like, I need looser boots or something, just something to make it feel more fun and not just going off a jump with straight up legs. And because I do a lot of just kind of the style of Bachelors, like a lot of little tiny ollies. And so I kind of thought about changing the front high back. And maybe everything can be traced back to Mike Rankwit when you're talking about no high backs.
He goes none, right?
Yeah, he goes none.
He used to do that, or still does that.
Yeah, and I definitely know that. And I don't go no high backs. I have before, but there's times you do need a high backs. So just kind of looking for something different out of snowboard and trying to make a snowboard feel different. And then I started to notice that it works pretty good when I'm turning, that I don't fly over the handlebars. And like I've said a few times during this podcast, like the most common thing when I'm turning on my heels is loading up and then whipping over the front. And with no high back, it just kind of gives me a looser front foot where I'm balanced on the back foot, and then the front foot's kind of just up there, kind of taking compression, and it just kind of feels cool. And but it works really good. Like turning the year I won Baker was with no front high back, and I haven't had a front high back in years now.
With none or with small?
It's technically small, but it's just kind of a heel cup. It's just kind of holds in your boot. And Solomon makes them for the Japanese market.
Really?
You can when you buy a certain binding model in Japan, it comes with 2 extra no backs. Just kind of that's the Hokkaido style snow surf, or not all of them, of course, but yeah, it just works really well for me. Feels cool. I've had other people. Yoder rode my board one time, Alex Yoder, and he's like, yeah, that totally rides well, and like I didn't quite notice. But my split boards, I have a high back on there, and I just take all my forward lean off. And there's moments, especially when you get on like steep terrain, that all of a sudden you miss your high back, your front high back really quick. It's like, whoa, that's why you have high backs. And so it's not that I see no use for it, but riding around Bachelor, riding down the Baker Bank slalom course, it's I never ever miss it, and just feels nice and cool. And if I do grab my board, like a front side air, nose bone type of thing, it feels super awesome. You're not restricted by that high back. You can kind of go more how you'd poke it on a skateboard. And but I guess to start out with is just boredom. Just kind of looking for new things, and then it just kind of became normal. Just felt normal. But it is a common question.
Yeah, it's an awesome setup. You mentioned winning Baker Banked, and it was a long road for you to get the top spot at Baker Bank Slalom. You were kind of second, third. You were kind of like anywhere fourth. Yeah, you've how many podiums have you had, and what was it like when you finally won?
Well, when I finally won, it was a relief. But I mean, there was frustrations, and that was kind of the funny thing too. Is so frustrating over the years with how it all went down. But in the end, it was like that is exactly how I'd want it to happen. You know, I like trying to make a good story, and it's a good story. You know, I got top 10 multiple times, and so it was after 20 years of going to the Baker Bank Slalom racing there, I finally got first. And over those 20 years, I got top 10 most of the time. And I got fourth place 3 times. I got third place 4 times. I got second place 3 times, and then first once. And but it's super frustrating. But looking back on it now, I think it was a super good motivation. You know, I think, and a funny thing too is after I won, I kind of went back and like looked at how it all went down. And I think it was the second year I did Baker. I got third place, but I missed first place by 0.03. And it's crazy to think just if I would have been 0.03 faster that year, just how it would have changed my motivation. You know, every year over those 20 years, I had Baker on my mind, like it's coming up, like I need to ride a lot. I need to think about things like board design, and is really a motivating factor and super frustrating the whole time. Not super frustrating, but it was frustrating. You know, getting second, you're like, or getting fourth is the worst. That everybody understands that one. But and then 1 year, the first year I got fourth too. I went up there. I'd gotten third 2 times, and I'm like, I'm going up there, and I want anything but third. And then I got fourth, and I'm like, no fourth, no fourth, anything but fourth. But now I really appreciate it, and I think my career benefited from it, from that motivation and just trying to ride as much as I could, and I love a good story, you know, and it definitely makes a cool story about trying hard, and there's other little things maybe that comes up too is I guess there's many times I went to Baker and I said the classic, I'm just want to do my best, you know, I'm not going to get first, I'm just trying to, you know, I want to get a good solid run, and then you get third, and I'm like, fuck, third. And then the year that I did win, I didn't say it out loud, but I told myself in my head, or like where no one could hear, like I'm going to Baker to get first. You know, I kind of said like I'm not going to get a good run or get third place. It's like I want to, you know, get first, and then it totally worked. And it's kind of the idea of positive thinking totally does work. You know, and you should set your goals. We're not all, and you know what is another kind of fun. I was watching the Bones Brigade documentary, and there's a Tommy Guerrero thing in there, and he's like, when you go to a contest, you're going there to win. Like, why else are you going there if you're not going there to win? And that was before I won Baker, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. You know, like I have enough history of going up there that I'm not going to get third, and you know, and I totally tell myself in my head like I'm going to do my best, and so the year that I won, I told myself that you know, I was going to get first, and then it happened. It was like, oh, maybe positive thinking does have a place in this world.
So that's a good footnote for Bomb Hole Cup, because we're going to be doing some racing, buds. And I think I've called you before some bank slaloms, and you've told me to wax the board a lot. And you know, there's a lot of listeners here that are going to their local bank slaloms, and everybody wants to do well. And I know you do some serious board prep as far as getting ready for Baker Banked. What advice first of all, what do you do to get your board ready for Baker Banked slalom, and what advice do you have for the weekend warriors getting ready to go battle it out at their local bank slalom?
Well, waxing your board. The more you wax your board, the slower it dries out. You know, when you see edge burn, that's just your board not having any waxing in there anymore. And if you wax your board every day, it just gets lubed up like you would expect. And so when I'm going to Baker, getting ready for Baker, like the month before, I wax my board every day, scrape it every day, go ride, then come down and wax it. And I do that over and over and over. And you can kind of switch up with warms and cold waxes. Cold waxes are more durable, and they'll stay in there a little better. And you can kind of put cold wax on your edge. You know, but it's really lubing it up. And when you do lube it up, you don't want to use the race wax. You kind of want to use probably the cheapest wax you can find at a ski shop. But it could be called training wax if you're shopping for Toco or Swix, or I don't know what One Ball would call it. But it's just wax. They don't have fluoro in them there anymore. They banned fluoro, you know that? Mm-hmm. Fluorocarbon used to be a race wax was with fluoro, but it's cancer, toxic, really bad for the water system, fishes, and so it's you're not going to be buying fluoros anymore. But those really dry out your base. But even just technical high-speed wax is going to dry out your base. So it's waxing it just with the simple stuff that just like moisturizes, and then when you put on the race wax, it accepts it really well. So that's something. And then edges, maybe that's something that people forget about. If you look at a brand new board, you'll see that it's not shiny, polished. My edges at Baker are going to look, I go over with a diamond stone, kind of every day, just kind of diamond stone to sit there, and they come out just sparkly, shiny, and after I do that or get used to doing that, I totally notice how my edges, if you're turning on them, you can feel that grip if they're not sparkling. And so sparkling them up, but that doesn't mean razor sharp exactly. It just means no nicks, no factory tune kind of stuff, getting rid of just a brand new board kind of feel. And but definitely doesn't mean razor sharp. And but if you don't want razor sharp, gummy stones, rubbing them over there can kind of just take the edge off and make them friendlier. And detuning the nose and the tail, tiny bit on those contact points so they don't catch as quick and go unexpected places. And
you bake your board?
Maybe I'll some boards. Pretty much every board I get from Solomon has a stone grind on it. That's the stone grind I want, and some grinds are for wet conditions are deeper, and that's faster, but they feel kind of funny. You can kind of feel underneath there, and so even if that is faster, I don't choose a grind like that. I'll have something that's just a little smoother and feels nicer. And but if I do, sometimes I bake my board. I wouldn't. I would say waxing your board 20 times is the same as baking it once at a ski shop overnight for a day or two. And baking your board just heats it up slowly with a big blob of wax on the top. It goes in like a little oven, and it gets up to not crazy hot, but just a temperature where the pores of the PTEX just go and open up and kind of accept that wax deep down in the base, and so that there's a lot in there. And then it makes it accepts all the other wax and kind of just works better.
Get all my boards baked.
Waxologist over here.
I get all my boards baked.
Yeah,
not true actually.
Yeah, my wife.
I just do this. I put him in Bradshaw's basement. You know what I mean?
Does he have a bacon thing?
No, he just smokes a lot of weed. I also, for the Bomb Hole Cup, I already have it sent out. My board went to McDermott.
Oh, you got a McDermott. Yeah. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff totally makes a difference. So, like, you can make, and I totally enjoy that, like going through that process and having a board on race day that is super fast. It's crazy how well-tuned board feels and how fast it goes, but just how, like, the snowboard functions.
Yeah, it's actually a big difference.
And having good tuned edges, is that's how a board's designed, how it's designed. And if you have funky edges, then it's not going to ride like it was designed to ride.
He's going to see this episode and be like, what is he talking about, McDermott?
But that's an interesting point too, thinking about, for the average person, this took me a long time to realize. When you wax your board, you're waxing the whole thing, but when you're actually snowboarding, you're really on your edge the majority of the time.
Yeah.
So the edges are crucial for speed, and the edges that contain the wax, obviously, not just the edges, but the edge of your board.
Yeah.
That's
so
going to
many
be the
people have
contact
that
point.
dead strip that he's talking about too.
Yeah.
Like you see that on everybody's boards. Yeah.
You know what? Like World Cup racers, like ski racers, they'll clean their edges all the time. If they get a nick in them, then they shave off the side, and so it slowly starts. When you look at the base, it slowly starts making the edge thinner. And the fastest skis are the ones with a really thin edge. And they almost want them like almost nothing, because the metal edge is slow and the wax is fast, or the wax PTEX is.
Oh, because the metal's slow in the snow?
Yeah, and so they'll start out like race World Cup skis with thinner edges, and then they'll tune them down, and then they'll really get it to be a special board when they get really tuned down so that there's barely any edge showing on the base.
Crazy.
That's because metal's slow.
Yeah.
And I think if somebody's trained to go fast through gates, you're really trying to get back on your base as quick as you can. You're not trying to stay on the edges long, but snowboarders don't think about that.
Yeah.
We're all about railing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Railing, son.
All right, that was a master class in edge technology there. We got a guest question from none other than Preston Strout as it pertains to what we're talking about a bit. And saddle up. It's a bit of a long rambler. Here we go.
Rambler.
Hey Dirksen, Preston here. Thanks for being on the Crab Grab team. It's been a pleasure developing gloves with you all these years. Chris, you as well, both of you guys. The question I have, first it's more of an observation that Josh, every year I hit you up for your glove order, and I feel like you ask for 2 pairs of gloves, maybe 1 pair. And I'm always surprised for somebody who snowboards as much or more than anybody I know, you require such a minimal amount of just stuff. And thought it'd be worth having a discussion, you 2, 3, whoever the hell's in there right now, of how you would maybe balance your obligation with your sponsors of helping promote the new line that everyone's trying to sell with only, using the bare minimum of what you really need. I feel like we live in a time right now where just stuff is so abundant and way too much stuff is getting made everywhere, not just in snowboarding. And Josh, you're such a good role model for just making stuff last, using older stuff, getting more mileage out of it. And I don't know. I feel like I just turned this question into a Crab Grab commercial.
I don't even think he's asked a question.
If I did, send me an invoice. Either way, please discuss. Thanks, guys.
Does she even know I'm here?
You don't have the trigger mitt. Yours is trigger mitt too.
Yeah.
Crab grab, right? Mine too. I got the gauntlet. You don't, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you ride the gauntlets? The big
Yeah.
ones?
He's a big...
It functions better.
Yeah.
If you put your glove over the top, you don't get snow in your.
Oh, that's why you like
and
it.
when you're dragging your hand on the snow, like turning and stuff, it's annoying getting snow.
Oh,
up
and you're
your
probably
jacket.
always smooth grooving around, huh?
Yeah.
Dropping
my
that.
hands are patting the dog.
You're always patting the dog.
Yeah.
Chris doesn't pat the dog much, but he grabs the edge.
I like also triggers for snowmobiling because you can grab the brake.
Oh, you run the...
um,
that's why you like the trigger finger.
Yeah, that's why I like it. But he was basically asking why you need such little amount of product.
I guess, there's multiple reasons. And, to start out with, my sponsor Patagonia kind of promotes that. Like we'll send you what you need, but if you don't need it. And then just having gear that lasts longer, that's the ultimate goal, is to make something durable. And if you need a new jacket every year, because it's wearing out, that's not a good jacket. But as I get older, I appreciate having, I find something, this is the jacket I want. It's black, and there's no reason to change it. Same with gloves. I want the gloves that, I don't want something new. And I'm like, oh, what are these? Especially in a jacket, knowing where the pockets are or aren't. And, I just like the consistency of using product over like multiple years, and snowboards and jackets and everything. And then there's so it's just me being old and not wanting to change, finding something and like saying it's perfect. I don't need anything else. And then it's also using less resources, just with the climate and the earth. And, you realize that like things are getting used up quick and we need to figure something out and use them less. That's something. And yeah, I just don't need as much. I don't know. Yeah. Well, even boards, I find a board that I like, and even if I don't ride it every day, I just put it there and I have it ready for when that day does come up. And I don't. But it probably all starts with Patagonia's influence. There's been years they're like, let us know if you need it, but they don't care if it's a new product, and they actually try to design their clothes to be timeless with colorways, and they won't bring out camo or tie dye because it's going to get trendy and go away quick, and so it's just having timeless product that you don't need it and it'll last forever, and where all the pockets and how it's going to work, and yeah.
Camo and tie dye always come back.
They'll come back, but they're not always there.
They're always there, man, because they're always circling back around.
Well, they're not always there though. They'll always come back, but you can show up with tie-dye at the hill this year, and I don't think you're going to be hip and cool.
I'll rock that out.
But a black
no problem.
jacket, for example, is timeless.
Is it not on trend right now to get new jackets every year?
Well, I think
that's
the paradox is basically
you're
like
using too much materials.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, it's an interesting deal as a person that makes a living getting paid by snowboard companies. Your job is to promote snowboard products, but at the end of the day, the kind of what I'm hearing, which is super inspiring, is like, do you really need the new product?
Yeah.
Your jacket's probably fine. Do you really need a new, which is it's like obviously.
I mean, look at Brock Crouch, dude. He doesn't need a new jacket.
Oil
He just
spill
needs to
on
wash it.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? I was thinking of something when you're in there.
That's really tight on budgets too. You don't need a new jacket. You look fine out there.
Yeah. But I enjoy being timeless and knowing what I got. And maybe here's what I was gonna say is another thing is when I started hanging out with Jeremy Jones and you go on a month-long camping trip, or for example in Alaska, you don't want your companies to send you like, here's your new gloves, and then you get out there and something's odd or weird or unexpected, or a jacket or board. You kind of want proven products.
It's a sample and something's wrong.
Yeah, just with splitboarding. Yeah. Like just with splitboard, you want it to be like how that product's going to function and last and durability. And so when you get something good and correct and that fits right, you want to
be able to trust your life on that product that you're out there with for 20 days and there's polar bears swarming.
Yeah, or if your board's wrong, you get out there and like, this would be so fun, but I brought a 150 instead of a 60 or just something. But so it's multiple reasons.
I like it.
Yeah, just caring, but being old, being opinionated. If I find something, that's the one. I don't want to change. And,
see, I'm like driven by rap culture, and I'm just like, no shit.
Yeah, Bud's is the opposite. He snowboards twice a year, and he gets about 40 jackets. That's actually his technique.
Yeah, I've always been.
He's laughing because he knows it's true.
Twice a year.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
my
4 times.
style of clothing is function based. If something functions, just like putting my gloves over the top of my jacket instead of under. I know it looks cooler having the jacket over, but it's like that doesn't function as well. And so it's not like I'm trying to make a style statement. It's I'm trying to find like what works best, and that's that goes with all the products and that I use. And
so going back, let's go back video parts for a sec because we talked about Afterbang or you were not in Afterbang, Lame and After Lame. You were in both of those films, incredible showings in those, and then kind of the end of your freestyle career. We'll call it. You had From Blank with Love, Follow Me Around, and Picture This. That was kind of your last few years of going big, catching air, things like that, hitting big cheese wedges. And we didn't really talk about the transition, that like point in your career where you made the shift.
Yeah. So those last 3 movies that you mentioned, Picture This, I wasn't in. I got cut out of it, and I filmed.
Well, you filmed but got clipped.
Yep, which I'm okay. I'm not looking for charity,
happens.
but
it happens.
Yeah, but it was a moment that made me ask myself, like, what am I doing? So I went up early in the season of that year and filming in Interior BC, and that early in the season it's really dark, and I know the footage doesn't come out looking spectacular, but it was so fun the filming and riding around with DCP and his home terrain, just really pillowy stuff, and seeing how you can make that terrain really awesome and fun, and so I had that super fun time, and then I ended up hurting my knee before kind of halfway through the season, and so it was kind of I got cut just because I didn't have a full bit of shots, and then it was also a year that everything was changing to digital filming too, and so we started out the year with the footage I got filmed in 16. And then the kind of movie Picture This was all digital. Like all the footage that went in there was like triple angles, digi-camera.
Didn't match up.
And but at the end of that season was a moment I'm asked myself, like, what am I doing if that's a terrain I want to be riding and I want to be filming and showing people, and if it's not the footage that like ends up in a movie, then I'm doing something wrong. I need to find a new movie. And so the next year was the year that I hooked up with Chris Edmonds and my own 2 feet, and we started splitboarding. Yep, Chris Edmonds, responsible for a lot of splitboarders out there. And my own 2 feet was just all human powered, but it ended up being like a lot of splitboard. And I got to that, and it's that's the splitboard gets me the terrain that I want to be riding, gets me with the people that appreciate that style of riding, and that was a moment in my career that changed and made me enthusiastic to film again the next year, and that led to TGR and just really exciting times in Alaska filming deeper, further, not higher, but those first 2 movies with it was and so that was a good moment, how it all went down, but it was a moment of a little bitterness, like, cut me out, what? but I liked how it all went down, and
you ended up getting that cover on the splitboard.
Yeah.
So it worked out just seamlessly.
Yeah, that was really cool. That Whitney trip, and Chris Wellhausen shot that cover. We'll give Chris a little.
Jolly.
Yeah, jolly. And that was really fun, and that was a really fun one. It was his first cover too. It
was his first cover. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be so stoked on the air horn.
It might have been the first splitboard cover, but maybe there's probably more regional magazines that had splitboards on the cover. But it was a time when splitboarding was becoming official. Where there was more than just 1 or 2 boards offered in the whole line of snowboards, But it was really fun, and more fun when it's like a team, like we did this, you know, and it wasn't just I got to cover, is that we got to cover, and it was even just that my own 2 feet project was like, it was we were really close, when you go camping with people that you really get to know them, and that was a little cherry on top of a awesome season that changed my direction in snowboarding.
Was there any moments when you were like, that video part was getting cut and you were unsure how the future of the career was looking? Or were you pretty solid that, okay, I just need to make another move and reinvent myself?
I don't know. I guess I have that on my mind, but not really.
I mean, anybody does to some degree, as you're getting older.
Yeah. Like when I think about business, it's like that's something you think about. But I'm not here for the job. I'm here for the snowboarding, and the snowboarding didn't go away, and the opportunities, and so no, I appreciated that it was a direction that could keep me in snowboarding and pro snowboarding and keeping this as a job. But I'm a snowboarder. I'm here for the snowboarding part, not the
You're
sponsors.
A lifer.
Yeah, and I'm a lifer. And there's a kind of a moment when I accepted that too. That what are you going to do when you're done? And then there's a moment that's like, it's not done. I'm not, no matter what happens from here on out, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I know people will appreciate it, but if it doesn't pay the bills, that's fine too. This is what I'm doing in the community that I'm part of, and I'm a lifer. Yeah,
that's
no changing.
Dope.
That's a great segue, talking about the community and how much of an impact that the Dirksen Derby has had on the community. It's such a strong community event. What was your ethos and reasoning for starting the Dirksen Derby?
Starting the Derby was, I'd been doing the Baker Bank Slalom, and it was awesome. And there was, at that time, I don't know if there was too many other Baker or Bank Slaloms. It was kind of Baker was the one and something unique, and we didn't even realize how unique it was. It was just the fun contest. And then, a big reason for the Derby in the beginning was Tyler Eklund. Give Tyler Eklund a little shout out. I'll let him know I'm heading back to Bend tomorrow, and I'll let him know that this will be a fun little thing to listen to. But he was an up-and-coming snowboarder in Bend, 13 years old, and he went down to USASA Nationals down in Mammoth, I believe, Tahoe, California, somewhere. And he landed, was training for the slopestyle, landed, and was riding down the landing and caught an edge and just kind of a freak accident, broke his neck, and really bad. And he ended up being paralyzed from the neck down and on a breather machine, and still is. And it was super sad for many reasons, and that they didn't have health insurance, for the stress put on his family, and no health insurance, such a big. He was in the hospital for a long, long time, of course. And then when he did get back home, his house needed to be rebuilt almost just to handle a wheelchair and his needs. And so we knew that he needed money, and that an event was a good way to raise money. And then I'd been interested in doing an event, so it was kind of all those things together. And so in the beginning, it was Tyler was our focus with the Derby, and we did a bank slalom, and we raised money and raised a little bit of money and raised more. And it was at a time when you really did need those funds for many years. And then we're on the 15th Derby now. That's what's coming up. And over the years, I started noticing that Tyler got health insurance, thanks to changes in the U.S. healthcare system, and him growing up and getting on Medicaid. But so that it became less about the money and that like just keeping him part of our community, you know, making sure it was happening, that everybody was getting together, that there was a space for him to come up and be involved. And we, through Oregon Adaptive Sports, there's a program, a nonprofit in Bend that does incredible stuff for our community and gets everybody out in the mountains onto the snow first, but they've grown so much that they get people out mountain biking and people just that have challenges accessing the outdoors. And so it became like the Derby. I enjoy raising the money, and that's a big part of it. But now I just really enjoy getting that community, keeping that community together, getting Tyler and everybody who really needs that support. You know, it's been many people over the years. We get Tyler racing down the course. He races in the sit-ski division at the Derby and sees his old friends, and his old friends see him. And, you know, in his position, it's easy to not be forgotten, but just not be involved. And just the challenges of going to the bar or something, you know, is different for him and many people. And so, yeah, the Derby started out as a fundraiser, and it still is. 100% of the registration goes to nonprofits and individuals. We give Tyler and Pat Melendowski, that's another buddy, has a long history in snowboarding, got diagnosed with brain cancer, and we get him a little money, but it's kind of just getting everybody together so we can all smile at the same time and have the same kind of fun. And something that's special with the Derby is it's something that the pros complain about in a funny way, but it's a pretty easy, simple course. Like you look at it and think you're going to be going fast down it, but pretty much your jogging speed maybe. Like it's really like you're going to tip over, not fall. You know, but that makes it so everybody's racing down the same thing, and that everybody sit skiers, 70-year-olds. Have we had a 70-year-old? I think the oldest we've had maybe is 67. We've had 5-year-olds. We've had people from all aspects of snow sports come up and competing on the same course, and it's a really special part, and the part that I appreciate the most. That's really fun, and to be honest, like the Derby drives me a little bit crazy every year, getting ready for it and trying to manage registration and the popularity of it and the timing of it. Preseason at Bachelor. Bachelor's pretty well known for early season riding, and we can have maybe 3 feet of snow, and all of a sudden it gets really good snowboarding. You know, it starts really quick, and so you know, there's special parts of it that bring everybody together and do make it more popular, and that are challenges for me, like dealing with the snowfall and building a course with small amounts of snow. But yeah, in the end, it's after it's done, every single time, it's so satisfying for my part, and seeing the smiles on everybody's faces and the people that win and the people that come, and yeah, it's really cool. And it's a surprise how it happened, how it all fell into place, and how it continues on. And you know, and then these days when Instagram's getting more popular, and a guy my age, like I don't quite care too much about Instagram. I kind of post on Instagram just to let my parents know what I'm up to, for example, you know, or friends. And but it feels like something that I really can offer the snowboard community is face-to-face time at the Derby, where it's something special. You know, I know Instagram has its place in things that it does bring us, but you know, that bringing us face-to-face, that's something that doesn't happen as often. And so yeah, the Derby, we're on the 15th annual. And I say I'm going to make it at least till 20, but I'll keep it going. But yeah, that's another thing with like, when are things going to end in my career? Or like, will they end? You know, it's kind of like they can't all end at the same time. You know, it's like things will keep going because I'll still love snowboarding, but you know, it's not just about snowboarding or the sponsors or the Derby. It's just kind of, you know, everything's just kind of, that's the direction it's going. And I don't know if I could escape if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. But I accept that this is where I'm at, and I do love being where I'm at. And so
snowboarding's grown up, you know. Hopefully you don't have to have an end, you know.
I'm going nowhere.
I have a couple Patreon questions for you around the Derby.
Yep.
2 of them. I'm gonna go rapid fire on you. This first one is from Jake Rosentreater. He said, "What's the most fun part about the Dirksen Derby for you, and what does the future hold?"
The most fun part of the Derby, I really enjoy building the course. That's what it was in the beginning. Like I was up there every day for a week before building the berms, and then now I have a crew. Corey McDonald and his Bogus Basin park crew come out, and they make it awesome. And they've been coming out for multiple years, and they know exactly what our style of course is. And but I really enjoy that part, like making a course that's awesome, and we make it like a lot of bank slaloms are turning in the same spot, so berms start forming up. But ours are really manicured, and it's 2 30-second courses that are like pretty small, 12 berms each. And so it's really the opportunity to make a beautiful piece of snow. And I really enjoy like making that happen. And luckily I can just go up there and look at it and go, yeah, guys, doing good. but I don't have to put in the heavy labor as much anymore. But really enjoy that part. I enjoy the stories that come out of it, of course, with people in challenging situations. And being a really special moment of their year, and where they really felt like that's the first moment I felt like I was really back to where I was before an injury or before something happened in their life. And I really enjoy those stories, and knowing that I helped set up a space for those things to happen. And I like keeping my parents busy. Like my dad makes the trophies, and North Drinkware. Matt from North Drinkware helps out a lot. And, just making the cool things like the details of the Derby. Making it special, unique, and, trophies and course happen with that. And what else? Yeah, the part that drives me crazy is the registration. If I was to go to the opposite side of things, it's a challenge. And I just have, after so many years, I have so many friends in snowboarding, and the Derby does have a limit. Kind of our limit's 500 racers is what we can kind of handle, and with the amount of minutes in a day in the middle of December, it's pretty short days. And we're getting better at getting those registered and handling that number of people during the day now. But of course, I wish I had 2,000 spots.
Yeah, homies will show up like they drove into town and they're your buddy and they didn't register, and they're like,
yeah.
"Come on, dude, just get me in,
Is
man.
it too late?
Can I just take a run?"
Yeah.
Well, the second question is from our good friend Johan.
But I didn't
Mikowski.
answer the second question on the last
future.
one. Future of the Derby.
Is
I'll make it
5 more years.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'll keep
15.
it going. And that'll be about the time when I'm 50 years old and 20s. My life kind of goes on checking things off the list and setting little bucket list goals coming here on Bomb Hole. That's a kind of a fun thing.
50's
to,
the new
set
30,
about it.
man. You got
turning
of
50.
time.
And I'm actually, like, with my age, I enjoy getting older, and just seeing, how I'm still here, just with that one. And, but with the Derby, I'm number 20, that's kind of fun to be too. And just having a contest that has been around for so long, contests come and go. And it's like, no, this one's will never be as long as Baker. Baker's the longest running contest
Where are
in
they at?
snowboarding. They'll be at 35.
Wow.
Yeah, but the first one was probably in 1985. I think there's been a few years where they didn't have snow, and then COVID.
Yeah, COVID.
But this will be the 35th annual, 35th edition of the Baker Banked.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, super awesome. I want to be in that position where it's like something that's established and been around forever, and maybe I can't get everybody in every year, but hopefully everybody can get in at least one time over the 20 years or more.
I got in there. I was there. Have you been?
Nope, never been.
Yeah,
Guy hasn't even been there, man. I can't believe it, man.
Yeah, maybe this is your year.
Yeah, maybe. Johan Malkowski, our good bud, over my shoulder. Is he still there?
I'm not giving him an
He's
air
there.
horn.
You know air horn for him?
No, let's give him a gunshot.
Oh!
All right.
Yep, he's there, and he's a very special story too. He's had some health challenges that he went through, and the Derby was like moments that it proved like I am back, and with his kids are ripping snowboarders.
Kids rip.
And, yeah, it's those are special stories that really keep me motivated with the Derby too.
He says to me, ask about the self-imposed Josh Dirksen contest rule, and how come you don't compete in your own contest?
Oh, that's funny timing. But because this year will actually be the first year that I'm officially competing in the
You're
Derby.
competing.
Oh, he's changing the rules.
Yeah, it's not a rule. It's just what
I
happens.
wouldn't go this year, dude.
No, I might go. I'm going to go take him down.
You're going to go take him down in his own spot?
Yep.
Woo,
But
mop him up. Mop them up, Chris.
Yeah, and last year I technically raced, but we had a memorial division for Chad Cooksey. Let's give Chad Cooksey the biggest air horn of the...
Well, you want to give him the super
Let's
air
give
horn?
him the
the super air horn.
Okay, let me get to that.
Chad Cooksey was the inspiration, the guy at Willamette Pass when we were growing up that set the style. You know, he was the one who influenced Alistair Schultz to influence me to, you know, he was an incredible person and snowboarder and awesome guy, and he passed away from suicide. And it was super, super sad. And so we did more memorial division for him last year. And so I technically raced last year, but it wasn't quite counted. It was just kind of the group of our friends from that era that rode Willamette Pass during 1994, maybe-ish. And so so I did compete last year, but it didn't quite count.
Like, did your numbers go in and you were timed and got a trophy if you won? Or?
Yeah. And I got the fastest time in my division, but we gave Cooksey the honorary first place tile.
Right.
So he'll always be on our results list.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but it was super fun. And but this year, my daughter's Alana's 9 years old, and she's racing in the Derby this year. Jeez. And so I thought it'd be kind of a fun to make it official, and we're racing together and we're waxing together. But in the beginning, I guess I mean, there's plenty of years that it would have been an unfair advantage. Like I personally built the course, and there was one year that the Derby race was wait in a 2-hour line, take one run, no practice, and that was the race. Like that was
Just because there was too many people?
Yeah, just too many people, and just how we weren't as organized at that time, and I think there was 179 people, which seems like nothing these days, but for our race. But yeah, there was and so, you know, if I would have raced that year, it would have been, I had intimate knowledge of every piece of berm snow on that course. And so in the beginning, it was kind of like, I don't want to win my own event. And then I also wanted to focus on making the event awesome. And I mean, I don't love competing. You know, I enjoy going up to Baker, but every time I go to Baker, I'm like, once a year, that's good for me. And it's a little different these days because I don't have as high as hopes, or I'm not trying to be the best snowboarder on the best day. And but back then it was, you know, I kind of thought I was offering everybody else something, and that I was on the sidelines, and it's kind of fun being in that position with all my friends, pro snowboarders, and seeing them nervous and like, you're nervous, huh? And, you know, and then not being nervous or being nervous for different reasons running the race. And so, but this will be the first year, that I'll officially race, and my daughter will be in there. My wife's still just socializing during the event, but be a father-daughter little thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Incredible. We have a guest question from none other than Nils Mindich. Here we go.
What's up, bomb haulers? Hope you guys are having fun. Nils here. And Josh, I got a two-parter for you. First part is, how many more years do you think it'll be until Alana starts beating you at bank slaloms? There's going to have to be a changing of the guard at some point, I imagine. And the second part is, would you mind enlightening the guys on how Tokyo Starfish got its name? I remember it being a fun story. Bye.
I've actually always wondered that.
Oh, I know that, but I don't know if it's an appropriate story.
Not appropriate.
Yeah, I don't know how I'll tell that story, but I'll answer the other question first. But yeah, when will Alana be faster than me?
It's a tough thing, like weight.
Yeah, I mean, she's 9. She's a ripper. I don't know if she's like, somebody asked her the other day, are you going to be a pro snowboarder like your dad? And she's like, no, I don't think so, no. You know, like she has her own thing in life, but snowboarding is the family thing. You know, that's what we do, and she gets a lot of it. And so I'd imagine she's 9 now. I bet. Or maybe I need to do my math, too.
It's going to be like when you're 75 or something.
No.
When she's 21.
Yeah, I'll definitely be faster. Or, no, that's not definitely. But when in just a couple years, when I'm 50 and she's, what's that, will be 4, 13.
She's not trying to be pro. That's going to be a tough go.
Yeah, but if she's snowboarding a lot, then, yeah. Because she totally snowboards a lot.
And you're going to be declining steadily.
Yeah, totally. I thought I was declining. Already, and then I won a bank slalom at Locks last year that Alana won, too, in her division.
Wow.
You guys both won.
Yeah, it was awesome. And she had a stacked field. I did too, but But they have a kids program at Locks with all these ripping young boys and girls, and it was I think like 13 or 14 kids in her division.
So
and
she's good.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, she rips for sure. Yep.
Proud dad right there.
Yeah, it was a very proud dad.
Yeah, that must have been a really cool thing seeing her.
Yeah,
mop
she was
up the competition over there.
Yeah, and being in it together, and that was it was super awesome.
It's cool.
And it's funny how I was having the same nerves that I get. Like, is my stance set up correctly? For hers, or like I'm looking at her board and doing like a last second tune, and it's like, come on, Dad.
Soccer dad up there.
Yeah.
Let me fix your shin guards and tie your shoes. That's
but
cool.
I don't know when it'll end up. But I imagine I got another 5 years at least before
Easy,
she's faster. And
part 2 was
Tokyo
Starfish. Yeah.
He looks all nervous about.
I totally am nervous. I don't know how or.
I mean, that's the name of the local weed store.
Yeah,
right.
So it turns out all my good old buddies from Bachelor, they grew weed forever. That was kind of the Bachelor thing. The border of Northern California and Oregon is kind of a prime location for farmland, and then growing in the summer and then snowboarding all winter is a perfect kind of lifestyle too. And then when Oregon legalized weed, they all became entrepreneurs.
Smart businessmen all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was just really cool to see. Just them become entrepreneurs and businessmen, and not like a secret thing you don't talk about. And then a group of my buddies started Tokyo Starfish, and that was super cool too, how that all fell into place. And then as far as the Tokyo Starfish,
I mean, I go there and I'm always seeing it. I'm like, where did they get the name? What a name!
Yeah, they came up with a name because everybody was coming. Like, it happened in a moment that they legalized marijuana in Oregon, and then everybody started dispensaries, and all the dispensaries came out being Central Oregon Organics, something that was very weed sounding, but organic-y sounding, and they wanted to go something that was like out there, and then I don't know if I can.
You can say it. It's a family show.
It's to each their own, like how you live your life with drugs or alcohol, and I'm no saint in life either. But I guess I'm hesitating now because I don't want to just throw it out there to promote, like things, or, I want everybody to make their own decisions. And, with different drugs to know that, everybody's unique. Just because you see somebody smoking marijuana, that doesn't mean that that's like the cool thing to do or that's what you need to do. Everybody should make their own decisions. But the Tokyo Starfish was a crosswalk that we were on a skyscraper hotel in the middle of Tokyo, looking down on this crosswalk. There was a starfish pattern, like guiding the traffic. And there's more to the story, but I don't know if we're going to get to it here. I can tell you guys after.
Is that the like super famous one that everyone walks across?
No, not
Shibuya?
even. Here's a super random one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there is more to the story. But
so we'll leave it vague.
Yeah.
We'll leave it vague.
I got to.
The mystery is just.
All right, their listeners and myself are also
I'm not going to be
definitely
able to sleep tonight.
curious about that. Also, sidebar, Nils is kind of a junior Bacon Dirksen.
Yeah, he really is.
Even the way he articulated his question.
Dude, for real. That's why the two of them hang out. It must just be like, I got to leave the room, dude. These guys, they're all talking crazy stuff about their waist widths.
Speaking of Japan, I want to hijack this conversation for a second because me and Dirksen got to go to Japan together.
Nice.
And it was really special. It was my first ever time going to Japan.
Oh, wow, that is special.
I was green, just starting to freaking sharpen the teeth. And I asked Dirksen, Dirksen, how many times have you been to Japan? He said, well, I think this ought to be 14 times.
How long ago was this?
2006,
yeah, it was a while ago
7.
Well, you're at like 25 times.
No, my current answer, though, is I lost track at around 14.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but there's a couple.
Dude, I haven't been in forever, though. I miss it now.
Yeah, I mean, there's times in the 90s, 2000s that we went twice a year.
Yeah.
There was shop tours in the fall that we go over there, and then you go in the winter and to contests, events, and went to the Tokyo X Trail. That was a awesome, like 50,000 person spectator in a baseball field dome. And but I had so many. Yeah, Japan is the perfect country to visit if anybody's doing that. It's so foreign and awesome and nice and beautiful snowboard. And I heard they have more ski resorts than any other country in the world, like a denser population of them. And there's so many. There's the Japanese Alps in the south that are kind of big mountain terrain, and then there's the volcanoes on Hokkaido that are powdery and
so special.
Dude, I want to go to that indoor half pipe.
I've been there before.
In Tokyo.
I have too.
The one where you bonk the ceiling?
I didn't bonk the ceiling.
I don't think anybody bonked the ceiling until this year in Ben Ferguson's movie.
Oh, really? That was
that's a really high, and that's a tiny little pipe.
Yeah, it's like not a full size half pipe.
I would love to watch that go down.
It was full size. I wrote it with Todd and Billy Anderson.
Years ago?
Years and years. I mean, even like 20 years.
We almost went there one time. And, it just never worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, back then it was a normal size pipe. And almost weird how it was so perfect, as the transitions were the circular, and you're like, whoa, that's odd. And, we're used to like kinks and, Japan. But I lost track. But we used to go, and kind of another funny thing, in high school, I went to Cresswell and didn't take a foreign language for the first 10 years. And then to graduate from high school, you need to take 2 years of foreign language. And I got up to South Eugene, and they're like, well, you're registering late, so the only two possibilities are Russian or Japanese. And I'm like, doesn't make a difference, I guess. Sign me up for either, because I can't imagine myself going to Russia or Japan. And then so I ended up getting signed up for Japanese, and it took 2 years of Japanese. And then I went to Japan a lot. And,
mushy. That's dope.
Awesome, got you.
And I can't speak Japanese, but I can make people laugh.
All right, talking Japan, there's a couple stories that come to mind from when we were there. And one in particular was when Louif Paradis, young Louif, not the Louif we know now, but a young, starry-eyed, green Louif Paradis asked to borrow a board. And I remember it was pretty funny what ended up happening. Do you want to tell a story? Do you want me to tell it?
You can start telling it. I think you remembered it better than me.
Yeah. I mean, I only remember it well because I think Louif remembers it well, and he's articulated it to me before. But essentially, we were riding some kind of pillow lines off the freeway under those barriers. They load up those POW fields.
Doing the laps.
Yep, and basically. They're like metal barriers that support the snow that create these pillows. And Louif's like, hey, can I borrow your board? You're like, yeah, just don't mess it up. This is my one of one board. It's really important to me.
Or the best one of 10 or something.
Yeah, whatever
it's like,
it was.
I brought this board for a reason.
The board was in particular special to you. I remember that. And I think, I don't know if it's his first drop or what, but basically he drops in and he cases one of the pillows and lands on the metal, and his back binding rips completely off the snowboard and fucked the whole thing up. And I think the inserts ripped out or something. Basically, it was total.
The board was done.
Foobar, yeah.
Yeah.
And
how did that make you feel?
Yeah, how'd that make you feel, Josh?
I definitely love my snowboards. And I get a tear in my eye if they get a scratch or a ding, or I know it happens, and. Yeah, and I know he felt bad.
Yeah, he was so bummed. He was all young. You're the dog.
And there's another one real quick I got to bring up too, because I remember you were doing the you know how it works in snowboarding when you're dropping in. A lot of times you need a 3, 2, 1 for the photographer.
The old countdown.
And I dropped in and I went to basically nose slide and then pop over this railing, and it was a pretty big drop off of almost a freeway overpass into a snowfield. And I came in and something went haywire and I slipped out and I back tacoed the rail and flipped over the railing. And Dirksen was doing the countdown. He goes, 3, 2, 1, abort. I'll never forget the clip.
And you're all back tacoing.
Yeah. So those
what was he doing on a jib trip? It was a hybrid, huh?
It was kind of a hybrid.
It was Hokkaido. And it was
That's
actually my first trip to Hokkaido.
Yeah, Hokkaido's special.
Yeah, first trip to Hokkaido, and I think that was the one. Was that the one where we went pow surfing, Asmo, the first day?
Potentially, my mind is just such a piece of shit. I can't always remember.
Mine too.
Yeah, they kind of fade together. But I think it was one of my first Hokkaido trips after 12 times to Japan and to the South Island. And Hokkaido is like the powdery island, the one you would expect that.
Yeah, that you'd be at all the time.
Yeah, but yeah, that was super fun and eye opening, and just meeting the future of snowboarding, pretty much.
Yeah, Bodie was there.
Yeah, it was Bodie, Grenier, Louif.
Yeah.
Big Lou.
So we were riding POW.
Was
and then,
Harrison Gordon there just hanging out too? Or?
There's more people
Hava
there.
was probably there.
Hava was there for
Hava.
sure. And LNP.
Oh yeah, Laurent was there.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
that's a
talking
good
dirty
call.
the whole time.
Yep.
Have you
Yep.
seen this kind of porn? I'm like, oh, geez.
Have you seen this kind of porn? I got it in a vending machine over there.
Laurent
must have
was
been-
riding
what a-
powder
what a
and like
trip.
cotton and like I can only
A
imagine
flannel.
how appalled Dirksen was in his non-technical performance gear.
On all you guys, because everyone, you're all probably wearing cotton.
Yeah, we went riding POW first, and then we went down to the city, stayed in a hotel, and we showed up to go snowboarding down below. And I kind of ran like, okay, I'll put on my snowboard gear. I'm going snowboarding too. And I show up, and everybody's in like just normal civilian street clothes.
Streetwear.
I'm like, aren't we going snowboarding? They're like, that's our snowboard stuff, man. Don't wear Gore-Tex here.
You're all,
times.
what is going on here?
I do know this is where Dirksen showed his deep love for shabu shabu. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we must go to shabu shabu.
I had shabu shabu, I think, every time I went to Japan on the first night.
Every
Shabu shabu
time.
is like a thin sliced beef, and then they bring out a broth, and you drop it in there, and
Yeah.
it boils, and it sounds simple, but there's spices and stuff that make it really, really
They bring it
good.
out raw, correct?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
drop it in raw, pull it out with some chopsticks.
I've been there with vegetarians that are like, today's the day.
Really?
Yeah.
They go for it.
Yeah, they just, yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Man,
And
the,
only
the
meat.
tastes of Japan, man.
Yeah.
Place has some food.
All right, I'm gonna pivot here. I'm gonna change gears. Let's talk fatherhood for a second. You mentioned Alana, and your father instilled some cool life lessons, experiences, if you will, growing up camping, and he seems like he really shared his love for the great outdoors with you.
Yeah.
What type of experiences and maybe character traits are you trying to show Alana in raising her?
Well, my daughter Alana. Let's give Alana an air horn.
Let's give her the super air horn.
Yes. Did you throw in a little cash register machine?
I did a cash register, yeah.
The future's bright for this one, huh?
Yep.
Well, of course, I'm trying to instill the good qualities that I have and not the bad ones. And I'm always thankful that I have my wife, Fabian. Let's throw Fabian.
Sorry, we're throwing. She gets a super air horn. She's got it.
The family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I very much appreciate that we're doing this together, my wife and I, and that I'm not responsible for raising a good, awesome kid, that we can both add our best qualities, or hopefully. But yeah, she snowboards, of course. I had her on a snowboard at 18 months.
Wow.
And I've told her a few times over the years that, you know, you don't technically have to love it. It's just kind of what you got to do. You know, the whole family's going to the mountains, and, you know, you got to get from point A to point B. And you can be on skis if you want, but snowboarding's the things that we get for free. And and she's a goofy footer. I kind of planned that out from an early age, too. And
Forced goofy footing?
Forced, well, not forced, but planned.
Planned.
Yeah.
She actually learned back nines.
Is that
at,
Planned Parenthood? Is that
Yeah,
the actual definition?
It
You
is,
just-
yep. She learned back nines at 17 months.
Yeah, but yeah, so she snowboards, and that's super nice. And she really appreciates it. You know, when you start at 18 months old, of course, you're going to be really comfortable in the mountains and in those positions, and it's fun being able to provide her that and have just such knowledge of snowboarding.
Isn't that when you can walk?
18 months, yeah, but it's when the boots are so stiff that they keep you upright.
That's so rad.
Yeah, but yeah, started young and started her skateboarding between my legs, and she rips at skateboard, or no, maybe rips not the word. She doesn't do tricks or anything, but she skateboards, goes places, and rides her skateboard. And early on, I had a scooter ban in our house, which scooters in Switzerland. So to throw out there, I live in Switzerland too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Yeah, we
from
haven't
Oregon.
talked about that.
Yeah, and so
Still the king of
yeah,
Bachelor, though.
my wife is my wife Fabian's Swiss, and when I started riding for Solomon 20 years ago, she was a professional rider for Solomon, professional half pipe, and she won a medal in the Olympics here in Salt Lake, a bronze medal in half pipe, and
Wow.
yeah, totally wow. And even more wow as time goes on, you just see what a Olympic medal means to people
Yeah.
and the inspiration that it brings them, and
It never goes away.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you're an
there's
Olympian medalist,
yeah.
you are a medalist.
And at the time she won that medal, it probably changed right about that time too. But for me and my friends were the Olympics were like, no way, man, that's not cool. And the Salt Lake Olympics changed everything. Just the quality of the half pipe that Pat Melendowski built and Ross Powers doing that big old backside air. But yeah, really cool. And we're very proud of her for winning an Olympic medal. But I started riding for Solomon. The first team trip I went on, I met Fabian, and we've been together since then, 20 years. And we snowboarded together professionally for a couple of years, like team trips and stuff. And then she retired and went back to school. And then we got married 12 years ago in Switzerland. And then, but the whole time, like the last 20 years, almost up until now, we split our time pretty evenly, 6 months. Kind of the Derby is what brought us back. Always like the Derby, got to be back in Bend. And then we'd stay through the winter riding Bachelor and then go back to Switzerland in the summer and be in the summer all Switzerland long. And then in 2013, our daughter was born, Alana, in Switzerland. And we kind of kept her on the same schedule too. She wasn't in school yet, and she was kind of 6 months in Oregon at my house, and then going back to Oregon or to Switzerland, and 6 months there. And that kind of went on for kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Like she was going half and half, and worked out super awesome. And then COVID hit, and that kind of changed plans. And then now she's older in fourth grade and has friends in school. And my wife's job is over in Switzerland, and we have an amazing home to live in. And so now, technically, I live in Switzerland. And
you have a passport?
Yep.
Wow.
So I have 3 passports. I got Canadian, U.S., and Swiss.
That's some good stuff right
there.
there.
Some Jason Bourne shit right there.
But I think I always feel like I'm American.
Born identity right here.
Totally. James Bond.
Yeah.
And your daughter must have 2 passports. You mentioned
scooter ban, though. I'm really interested in the scooter ban.
Back to the scooter ban. So they're popular. Every kid in Switzerland had a scooter. Up until like 17 years old, they scoot around. And of course, being a skateboarder at skate parks, I'm not a big fan of scooters. And so I had a scooter band that there's no scooters, and she kind of wanted one, and I give her a skateboard. And then finally I was talking to Velt, and he's like, oh, dude, like just imagine if like your parents, when you were young, said skateboards weren't a real thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. And so I finally got her a scooter, bought her one. But it was kind of too late. She already kind of got used to a skateboard, and skateboards kind of became cooler. Like at her school, there's a handful of especially girls. I think Olympics is kind of changing things too. Like skateboards are, definitely a cool thing. And yeah, she cruises, skates off to school in the morning as I wave her by.
She's one of the cool kids now because she's not on a scooter.
Yeah, she's got the cool skateboards too, of course.
Nice.
Got her that Andy Anderson with like a purple skull on the bottom.
Scooter band.
Yeah, but she has a scooter, but it hasn't left the garage in a year at least.
Have you tried one of those digi scooters? Those things are fun.
Like an electric scooter or something?
Cruising around the city, they have them like.
Oh yeah, you got to.
Those things are kind of fun.
It was actually his first Uber ride on the way here.
Yeah, that's right. He hasn't tried a digi scooter yet. First Uber.
So
what's the question or the direction we're heading here?
I got a big topic here.
Heavy topic.
This is a big topic. Saddle up. We're gonna talk about the Rancho Relaxo.
That's my house in Bend, Rancho Relaxo.
That's my house in Bend. Sounds like a great
Very
place.
prestigious.
Yeah.
And this is a big question too.
Is there a sign?
And a goose.
Yep.
Oh, so we can put up photos of these.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's a mini ramp there.
Awesome one.
And how much did you purchase it for?
$1.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
And I
in today's day and age.
So the mini ramp is getting old, just like myself, and so I had to resheet. I was gonna say just like all of us, but I don't know if you're getting old yet.
He's getting old, man.
Yeah. But
he's younger than us, but he's still getting old.
It's skate light on the top, but the bottom plies, of course, wear out over the years. And so I decided to pull up the skate light, resheet it, and relayer it. And I finished the day before COVID hit.
Ooh.
And so for the whole COVID quarantine, the 3 months when it was really on lockdown, I had my own personal mini ramp.
Wow, just you.
Just me, and
your daughter.
I would skate for like 30 minutes of just fakey rock and roll, fakey rock and roll.
What are we talking, like a little 2-footer?
Whatever it is perfect.
Just perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect. Like everybody, it's not too mellow. It's not too steep. It's
dude.
But no, it's not a 2-footer. It's probably It's probably 5 foot.
Is it 5?
I think. I
Dude,
would
that
think
sounds
so.
awesome.
Yeah, it is
2
awesome.
foot's like nothing on
Guaranteed.
that thing.
Anybody who rides it says it has a little escalator too, and
The old high cascade mini.
Yeah.
This is probably 3, so it's 5.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to remember exactly or say exactly because it's lifted off the ground on cinder blocks.
Sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's awesome, like so many people, but it's a standard high cascade. Back in the day, high cascade had all the mini ramps and the spine that probably a lot of people remember, and it's the same transition and height as those, and I bought it from High Cascade for $1, and then I had a roommate who
They made up for that $7 a day.
Yeah, totally.
It all comes full circle.
The retirement package.
Yeah.
Thane Mahler was my roommate for a long time when I got the ramp, and he assembled it, knew how it all goes together. He was kind of the ramp builder for High Cascade, and then he started working for the Dew Tour, and whenever they get a little chip of skate light, he'd bring back, he's like, can't use it anymore, and he'd bring it back in his truck, and so that's how we got it fully sheeted and skate light, and it's just perfect coping and really locked on. It's a super awesome one.
You had it installed by a professional too,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Now he works at Red Bull, and he doesn't even build anymore. He just tells the people what to build, and like when they need a 100-foot step up or something, he's kind of the guy who's
Tells
like,
them
all
what
right,
to
guys,
do.
here's how we're gonna make it happen for.
You need a 100-foot
for the
step up
athlete.
or a mini ramp for Rancho Relaxo.
I
Got you
don't know
covered.
either way. Rancho Relaxo.
We got a guest question from, I'm going to say Trevor Graves is a guest question extraordinaire. Okay. He sent me 4 and they were all bangers. So we took
you 4.
2. We took 2, all great questions. Here we go.
What does a perfect day look like? Money's not an object. Time is infinite. What would you do? I'm curious. All right. Hope to see you in the snow. Talk to you in a bit. Peace. Later, buddy.
Good question.
All right, perfect day. I mean, that would change. I mean, like I was saying earlier, the perfect day that I wrote in the magazine was a day at the Shack in Mount Hood and skating the vert ramp and ended up the Ratskeller in the end of the night. But perfect day now, if I had to pick something, I'd guess I'd go for the trifecta. Like a day of snowboarding, skateboarding, and if money was no option, then maybe I'd make the travel in between more comfortable. Well, I don't know how that would be, but with just a big comfortable van. or
Wife
something
and
cool.
daughter out the window. I'm going for the trifecta.
No, I'd bring them along. I could bring them along.
They come watch.
Yeah, my wife surfs and snowboards, and my daughter does it all.
True.
And
All right.
yeah, so I bring them along, and
I guess that was just a given that they were with you.
yeah.
You didn't mention it, so I wasn't sure.
yeah, and maybe some good food. At the moment, I'm coming coming from Switzerland.
shabu-shabu
I've been
on site?
missing Mexican food. So maybe at the moment I'll have maybe a Mexican food buffet, and maybe not a trifecta in Oregon. I've done that one time. Maybe a Chilean trifecta.
Ooh,
Yeah.
baby.
Maybe maybe I don't quite skate the same as I did maybe 10 years ago. You know, I used to skate every day, skate parks. So maybe the skating part would be a big long downhill type of thing,
Nice.
just cruising with some big soft wheels.
Little high-speed wobble, just hit the pavement.
No,
real
not
hard.
high-speed wall, but the perfect pitch. So from snowboarding the mountains, big long, maybe a few transitions to have fun on. Or
I was
skate park
thinking the
along way.
steepest street in San Francisco.
Yeah.
High speed.
You know what? A quick little thing to add in here. Did you guys know that there's another Josh Dirksen?
No,
And,
I didn't.
pro skateboarder.
Really?
And, a ripping pro skateboarder
Wow.
who just had a
Give him an air horn.
yeah.
You know, there's people that probably think you guys are the same person.
It comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Just maybe 3 months ago, he came out with a part.
Skater, man.
Yeah, he came up with a part on the barracks. That came out on the barracks.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's bombing down the water drain dam, like a big long dam drainage.
Yeah.
And Ripper
Drainage
skates goofy footed, kind of brown hair, kind of looks similar to me. But last
Really
couple
good toe
months,
side turn. So.
like in Switzerland, it's a challenge, like explaining what my job is, because like my daughter's friends of my daughter's parents of what.
School teacher, maybe.
Yeah, just people in general. It's like, what do you like? Do you do World Cup contests, or do you, it's kind of hard to explain. Even in my mind, it's like, what is my job? It's not trying to be the best snowboarder anymore, exactly. But so they go on and Google, and like some Dirksen stuff comes up, and then in there, pretty high up, is his video part, his skate video part. Sick. And they're like, wow, you're a good skateboarder. And like the first time it happened, I'm like, well, No, I kind of skate a lot. I skated a long time. I don't skate as much as I used to, but then it quickly
awesome.
became obvious that it's the other Josh Dirksen. So I think it's Josh _Dirksen maybe.
Ah,
But yeah, check him out. He's a ripper.
that's so
Good
funny.
stuff. You know what I think it's time for, buds? It's maybe the pub beer crap
It's that time.
Yeah, you gonna crack some can?
I think I will.
All right.
Cue the music.
I don't actually have the music. I just
Oh.
looked through the soundboard.
Okay.
But it's something like
Clackety,
clackety, clackety, clackety, clack.
Something like that.
And pub beer supports the show. If you're going to have a responsible beverage, choose a pub beer. And maybe you're going to have 15 to 20
Call an
beverages
Uber if you do.
Responsible. Yeah, call an Uber. Don't ask Dirksen how to do that because he's only done it once.
He doesn't even have the app on his phone.
Yep. And
It's cheap. It's fun. It's pub beer. It's delicious. You're going to roll some dice, my friend. Two dice.
Can I move away from the mic?
Yeah. 2 dice, and Chris will tell you what you're going to do. The Goon Gear is a 6.
Oh, nice. Goon gear dice.
7?
So, no, we got a 6 and a 3. We got a 9.
We got a 9. Oh, this is a good one. Name one thing still on your career bucket list.
Oh, for the man who's done it all
Yeah.
for many, many years.
Not another 900. We know that.
Not the trifecta in Chile. Or I guess that could be.
Was it snowboarding bucket list or
Any bucket
whatever.
list.
any bucket list?
Choose your own adventure.
I mean,
It could be snowboarding, though.
yeah. I mean, I'll try to come up with a second answer, but raising a good kid, that's on my bucket list. You know, a nice, responsible young lady.
I have a feeling you'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. With my wife involved, I think we can work together and make
Yeah.
it happen. She's super good kid. And I mean, that is a full part of like everything is being a parent and, you know, for myself and trying to make sure my kid doesn't come out as weird as I am, maybe.
I think it's easy to fail. I don't know.
Yeah, or feel like you fail,
Yeah,
for sure.
it seems
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, but yeah, I hope that's something I check off on my bucket list, and I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and should I give another answer?
You
that-
can do
Snowboarding
snowboard
wise?
related,
Yeah.
sure.
Snowboard related. I don't know. Maybe jump the gun on the who would you take heli skiing question, but maybe a bucket list is go heli skiing with my wife and daughter. That's a pretty awesome one. Jump the
Still
gun
one
on
more
that
seat
answer.
in that alley.
Oh yeah, is
Isn't
there?
there?
Take 3. You take 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember,
Oh, yeah?
you can take celebrities as well.
But I'm 3.
No,
So
but
is there 4?
there's 4 technically total.
Okay. We leaving the guide behind?
Well, you don't have a
Yeah, no guide.
photographer.
No guide. This is fun
Okay.
times. We're going low angle.
There's no filmer or photog. It's you.
Yeah, let's see. Who am I gonna bring?
It's you and 3.
Yeah. I'll probably bring one of my childhood buddies, like Justin Stafford. I don't think he
Stafford.
stepped on a snowboard for a long time, but
Lucky guy.
yeah.
Stafford's getting in the heli. Well, that's a perfect segue into hot takes. If we're
Yes.
talking, if you already jumped the gun on the heli
Yeah, you
question,
already answered the heli
might
one.
as well start it off with, you know, as we like to ask on this show, the Michael Jordan and or GOAT, greatest of all time, in your opinion, as it pertains to you, both male and female in snowboarding.
Well, the male, from my perspective, is easy, especially when it's called the Michael Jordan, not the greatest of all time, but kind of the Jordan is Terrier. I mean, that's the person I grew up with that was influential and that everybody was influenced by and kind of changed snowboarding. And but I think it's, you know, of course, all these answers are debatable. Craig Kelly could be the greatest of all time too. But as far as my perspective, the person who was the rider was Hawken. And yeah. And woman snowboarding is, I kind of thought about this earlier. And I mean, I'm going to give a few answers. And so
Louis Vito us a little bit here. All right.
no, you can get it down. But maybe my answers are kind of a consistent one. You know, like I thought, or I think I've heard on there, Victoria Jalouse. And I mean, she's such a timeless, ripping turning style. And for somebody who really appreciates turning, you know, she was really became like a high level of women's snowboarding early on and hanging with the TB guy, the TB crew, and really like hanging together. And then Barrett Christie is one. But when I think about Barrett Christie, I think like, oh, maybe that group of Barrett Christie, Tina Bassett, Shannon Dunn, you know, those were like a group of women that really changed. And but that's not the greatest one person of all time. I think Zoe Like, seems like she's on her way to be the greatest of all. Maybe especially like the Michael Jordan of snowboarding, the person that kind of changes it. And with Zoe's, like with the Olympics and stuff, that's kind of what that means. That's what Jordan did. He wasn't the greatest basketball player ever, but he changed basketball playing the most, and so
But he's
I-
gonna keep listing female riders until we hear all
Yeah.
the top females.
Got a good dissection. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think I would go with Barrett Christie. If I had to pick
Love it.
one.
Final answer.
She was in all the spots in the time of influential
Yeah.
snowboarding and at all the top events and riding for the cool companies and even now with her, she has relationships with Nike and she's still in part of it and
GNU.
yeah, Barrett, an
GNU,
incredible
she's holding
person.
it down.
Yeah.
Okay, who's the most underrated?
Underrated is, for Bachelor, for sure, it's Drew Bear. Drew Bear is his Instagram name. It's
Low key ripper.
Yeah, do we all know him?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I feel
Drew
like
Brownrigg, I think is his.
Dude, he
Pure
rips.
talent.
Rips,
Pure
yeah.
talent.
Yeah, but just kind of carefree, doesn't really head in the direction of pro snowboarding as far as I can tell, but rips and rides Bachelor kind of in a dreamy way, like how he launches the wind lips and has a really good style from a photographer point of view too. I think he
I've
tweaks
shot him
at the
a
right
bit when he used to go to
moment.
like the launch or back in the day when he was younger.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
very photogenic.
And he's I think something is that he's just into so many sports too.
Yeah.
Like he's an amazing mountain biker, I believe, and like motorcycles,
think he
even
got
like
into
little tiny
moto, right?
motorcycles. And I think he's related to. Is he related to Carson?
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
I think that is the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he's
Cousin or something.
the classic underrated at Bachelor. Yeah.
Steel or powder?
Steel
Dirksen?
for sure.
With sharp edges or dull edges?
Either.
I'll go powder.
I was thinking
I was
steel.
hoping he was going to say steel.
I thought
Best
he was going to go steel.
style ever.
Oh.
You
Best-
can't say yourself.
No, I wouldn't say
No, you wouldn't.
myself.
You just got really good style, dude.
Best style ever, Alistair Schultz.
Okay. In your opinion, best snowboard video ever made?
Let me think. The Garden.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Best snowboard graphic ever.
The not the re-release, the original Matt Cummins, Lib Tech. Sean Donnell did the little surfer ocean scene on the top, and then I don't think it was Donnell, but somebody else did the base graphic, the BMXer, and that's of course from my perspective, as a board that I appreciated, really colorful and
It
fun,
was a strong
and,
board.
yeah, and a unique shape, with that kink nose back in the day. But I don't know if that was really proven to be high performance, that kink in the nose, but it sure was cool when it came out.
Yeah.
And then, should I say some more boards?
If you'd like to.
Yeah, there was when I was riding from Morrow, there was the skateboard that came out, Morrow Salem, that 159, and they had an artist. And I asked my friend about it the other day, and it was Joe Sorensen was the artist, and he did a line of graphics. Yeah, I should say it sounds like that. Sorry if I might have put an extra E in there or something in his last name. But he had a line of graphics, and there's this 59 that had this little blue gremlin thing on it. And that was kind of my board size of choice at that time was a 59, and I really just thought that was cool colors. I've always kind of liked how blues, like baby blues, kind of glow on stormy days, and so that's one of my favorite graphics. And maybe one more, which technically a couple more, that Hawken Balance, when Hawken came out with multiple sizes, and they had the Mike Perillo graphics, it all connected together. That was amazing graphics,
That was
an
cool.
amazing board, and amazing time when I was like the biggest Hawken fan and Perillo fan.
Yeah,
that was
Perillo's
after,
sick.
the Garden. He was part of the Garden too, and yeah, I could keep going.
That's
but,
solid.
For my one answer is that MC.
Okay.
And I believe that's the longest running pro model in snowboarding.
Yeah, oh, it is.
Is MC board. Yeah, still going.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's
All
a little more
right.
powdery than it originally was.
You already answered the 3 heliboarding, so this is a good one to ask because I think it's going to be contrary to the common one, but pants over the high back or under the high back?
Over. Yeah.
That's OG.
You know what though? It's a little function thing. I just hate having my pants bunched up in between my boot and my high back.
So you still run that?
I run it over.
Right now.
And then I don't have a front one, so
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter where it falls.
So on your everyday riding driver, well, I guess we'll get to that.
It's over. My pants are over my.
If you watch any
back, high
Dirksen
back.
part, his pants are over the high backs.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. But pure function. There's no choice. I just can't stand having it on the inside. It just bunches up.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Worst trend. What do you got?
Worst trend. I thought about this one. It might sound a little spicy at the start, but worst trend in snowboarding, I think, is the top pros not wearing a helmet.
Spicy.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to be the helmet police, and I didn't wear a helmet forever until just kind of recently, like last couple years, and it was kind of my daughter and telling her like she should wear a helmet. But then I think the reasoning for my answer is the pros we're kind of responsible for developing product and making things better, and helmets, would be so much better if all the pros were influencing them and riding them and not take them off the moment that they could. So
You think that would make like so many people are giving feedback?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do as a pro rider.
You think they'd be better if everyone was riding them?
They would be better.
I think it'll slowly change over time.
Yeah. But I always think about mountain biking. It's like that'd be absurd if you saw a rider without
That would be
mountain bike
If
without
you
a
watch
helmet. It's
80s footage of people on mountain bikes, they ain't wearing a helmet though.
That's true.
Like original mountain bike stuff.
And so maybe the time needs to change. But that trend needs to.
I got an
change.
e-bike and I'm not
That
allowed
should
to leave
change.
the house without a helmet.
Oh, I got a photo of Buds when he got the e-bike. We'll pop it on the screen. It made me so joyous. It's a selfie of Buds in the helmet. It's so fire.
I'm not allowed to leave the house without a helmet though. Like I get yelled at.
Yeah, and I started wearing, like I said, a couple years back, and it totally took like a year and a half to get used to it. Like I had to change like my whole kit, like pick out different hoods and.
I still don't know. Like, are you supposed to wear a beanie under it if it's cold? I don't even know what to do.
Yeah, Patagonia has a
thin beanie?
It's a Merino Air. It's called. They have little balaclavas, and they're really fluffy, thin things, and they work really good under helmets. And they have a long underwear with a hood, or you can just get the balaclava. But those work good for stuffing it in there. But it just takes kind of the time to just dial in your helmet, just like everything else.
I just got to figure it out. Patagooch, if you got any of those, let me know. Hit me up.
Yeah, we can get you one.
That would be dope.
But it is a challenge. But now I'm at the point where I just don't like. It's kind of like warm, and even on hot days it kind of insulates your head like a little cooler, and just everything kind of fits together better. Now I like
you probably
just
feel
appreciate
better.
it. Yeah.
What setup you're on, Smith?
Yeah.
Smith mission helmet, and then we just came out with a dual cert, which means it's certified for snowboarding and mountain climbing. So it's kind of mountain climbing's more from like above impact,
but not mountain biking.
No.
It's a different style helmet.
Yeah, I think that would be a different style helmet.
Okay.
But they have rules on how big the holes can be and things like that. But so I just designed, and I thought they were actually going to fire me, Smith, because I was being so vocal about like, I need this helmet, like being out in the backcountry and you're fully around stuff falling down, and not just when you're snowboarding, it's when you're hiking up or when you're getting up to put your buckle bindings in. And so, I kind of from the start, I said I'm going to wear a helmet, and then I said I'm not going to carry that thing on my backpack either. And so I picked out a helmet that I just wear on my head, and I can kind of shed layers and make it nice and cool or warmer if needed. And there's been a few times when I get something bonked on my head, and I'm like, yeah, that was the moment. But it's super nice.
So it never goes in your backpack?
Never, ever, ever.
Tight.
Yeah. I kind of started out thinking or saying that when I put my boots on, I'm going to put my helmet on. And so I'll even like drink a coffee in the lodge with my helmet on.
I boot up at the house before I leave. So would I go?
Oh,
I'd have to
you
go
would-
helmet on.
It'd be very safe driving to the hill.
Right from the house?
Well, not in those boots, so that's a liability, driving in boots, man.
Boots and a helmet all the way.
The helmet might save you, but the boots are going to get you in an accident.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it is super nice. So anybody thinking about like, oh, it's not quite working for me, it's kind of just put the effort out, and your just kit will change, and all of a sudden it's kind of doesn't work without it.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's like a why not thing,
Mm-hmm.
and so Not to be the helmet police, though.
Totally.
Do what you want to do, but
You have a siren on set somewhere. So
yeah.
if you
No,
wanna
I
be the
think it's
helmet
good.
police.
Good platform to talk about.
But it's
last thing in hot takes, we talk beaver slap in the lift line. What's your take on the beaver slap? Do you do it? Do you not do it?
I guess if I'm going to clean my board off, I reach down there and kind of dust it off. Beaver slap doesn't quite do it. You slap it and it just kind of packs it on there in the middle. So I clean it off, but I'm also aware of lifties don't like it when you clean it off in the wrong spot.
They don't.
And so, if there's whacking it off the board, I'm already on the chair. And then if not, it's kind of in the lift line, dusting it off to the side.
Let's give lifties an air horn out there, getting us loaded up nicely.
Unsung heroes right there.
Yeah.
You got to be careful shaking the snow off on the lift because guys like me are under there shooting photos, filling my pack up.
Yeah, hopefully you have a helmet on.
True, yeah.
That Smith helmet, you're good to go,
Yeah,
bud.
it'd be good to go.
So another thing we got to talk about because we're getting close. Climate advocacy, and I know you're an advocate for protect our winters, and I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. I mean, it's fully become a big part of my career. When I try to explain to people like, what is your job? And it's not being the best snowboarder, not winning all the contests or something. It's promoting snowboarding, promoting the outdoors, and promoting the companies that I ride for, and that's been, like advocating for the climate, protecting the climate has become a big part of that, and working with Protect Our Winners is I enjoy it, I have fun, and I know that I'm not a perfect advocate, that I have my faults and that we all do, and that's the problem with climate change right now is that we're all guilty in our own ways, and but I think the important thing is that doesn't matter, and I think about myself and it's kind of frustrating sometimes, like going to politicians and being in that position. But I accept that that's what I do. I'm vocal. I'll talk about what snowboards suck, or and I don't just take a snowboard and say that's good. Like I'm either gonna ride this snowboard or I'm gonna stop snowboarding. And that's the same thing with climate. It's like I know that I fly in airplanes. I married a Swiss woman, which is one of the big challenges for myself. And I, as an individual, can try to fly less, can try to change things to be better. But in the end, the individual actions aren't what we need, aren't the change that we need. We need group changes, and that means a bigger group is in like legislative laws. And that's what we try at Protect Our Winners, is to go to Washington and change laws. We're not trying to, or I should say I'm not, but I think it's Protect Our Winners. We're trying to change legislation, and if when somebody says that you should just stick with snowboarding and shouldn't speak up, it's kind of like, what does that person care? And the person I care about is the politicians in Washington, and I have no problem like speaking up to them. And it's like, why should they have a voice of how things should be instead of me? And that's kind of what I've done my whole life, is like with snowboarding, and so I accept that's a position I'm in, and I realize, it's a constant conversation in snowboard companies and how to deal with it. Is it depressing to bring it up, like for a snowboard company to bring up climate change, and like will we sell less boards just because people are depressed? Like, oh, this sucks. Like winters are, and it's I think it's something that we should just accept that we're all at fault. We're all part of the problem, but that does not mean that you can drive your truck. You shouldn't drive your truck to work and then still speak up about having changes happen in politics, and it is a problem that's not going away. It's like the future is not going to be less mileage on or gas mileage on cars, and it's exciting. That's just like with boards, and I get excited talking about electric cars and just things that are like moving forward and change and not staying in the same spot, and and I know everybody has their challenges, and I think Protect Our Winners and what we as a group do is try to tell everybody that we're not trying to blame each other. It's just an endless cycle. That what we need to do is vote with climate on our mind for the politicians. And if a politician doesn't have climate on their mind, then something's not quite right. It's really hard to avoid the reality of climate change in any circle. And all the snowboard companies are trying, and it's an inspiration being with Patagonia and seeing how they move forward and solve problems, and and then Solomon's trying to head that direction. They're by no means like as far ahead as Patagonia, but I also want to work with my sponsors and like tell them good job and keep them, and with just all my friends. And it's like, this is the direction we need to head. And I don't know, I enjoy it. And I know it's spicy and I kind of think about that sticker, snowboarding was better when you hated us, it's kind of like, oh, you can just start supporting climate change and everybody will hate you. But that's what we grew up like, skiers hate us, and, you kind of love it. And, so all these things, I guess I'm just trying to explain, but I accept that's what I can offer the outdoor industry and the snowboard companies are eyed for. If everybody's not sitting around just feeling guilty, thinking they shouldn't drive to the hill, they're not going to buy snowboards, which, in the end, my job is to promote snowboarding, and the snowboard companies are eyed for, and that's what gets paid, and that's doing a backside 9 maybe off a jump, not anymore, but before. And but it's also, being vocal about the issues surrounding climate change. And so, yeah, I hope everybody walks away from this little ramble of mine here just knowing that we're all guilty and trying not to blame each other, that it is a big problem. And there's, if an individual says, I'm going to drive less or I'm going to go splitboarding, that's a small change that can inspire a bigger change. But the big change that we need is laws changing, and that's what Protect Our Winters is working on. And the recent stuff that passed in Congress a couple months ago, the Inflation Reduction Act, is something that like made us feel real good, kind of like a video part. Like, yeah, we didn't do it all, of course. We weren't the ones only responsible, but we did stuff that helped that pass, and so it's satisfying. And it's satisfying getting better at it. Putting on a suit and tie, going to talk to a politician, and you hear how the dialogue goes. It's not about 25 years in the future, like things are going to be bad. It's kind of about like tomorrow. Like the politician wants to hear like, how much money are we going to lose tomorrow? And so kind of, it's like going to Alaska one time and then going like, I want to go back because I think it can do it better. It's kind of fun, and I enjoy putting the effort out. And I see, having a daughter, of course, but I mean, for everybody, and just even just for tomorrow, I want the climate to be better, and it's not all doom and gloom. Some stuff's just not having a coal plant in the middle of the city and having solar panels. Like, oh, that's much nicer, or not having stinky cars sitting in traffic. There's stuff that's just fun to think about, just like snowboards are fun to think about. And so, yeah, I hope everybody puts thought into that and has those conversations with their relatives, and that we can move forward in a positive direction.
Well, thank you for your advocacy and doing what you do.
Pleasure.
We appreciate you, and so well articulated in that. I love that the finger pointing. I think about human nature too, and it turns people off, but just doing your part where you can is inspiring to me when I hear that. So,
and what we really need is younger kids to start heading that direction too. And like advice that I'd have for a younger pro snowboarder is that's totally part of the job. And maybe your job as a younger pro snowboarder could be, I want to win all the contests and be the best snowboarder ever. But if you're trying to sell a snowboard product, that is totally part of the job. It's become like, if the snow doesn't fall because the snow levels are rising, then they're selling less snowboards. And, so yeah, hopefully we can start attracting the younger generation to put more effort in that direction.
All right, Josh. Well, we've been doing the damn thing, and before we get out of here, we do have to ask you setups. We ask all of our guests their setup they ride, and I know you got a quiver, but maybe if you could pick a daily driver of the board and bindings you ride and how you set them up.
All right. Yeah. My setup used to be, like back in my jumping days, it was a 63 inch set back, so pretty centered. And I had negative something and maybe -6 and positive 18. But as I've got older, my stance has gradually gone farther back. And I mean, some of my boards are even 2 inches, 2.5. I mean, even 2.5 for sure. And kind of a comment on my Solomon boards is to use the farthest back hole patterns, sunk all the way back. And I like having a nimble little tail and a big long nose. And my daily driver is probably a 63 Super 8. but maybe that gets a little different. You know, that gets a little annoying if you're on a crowded resort or something. I enjoy having a smaller board that doesn't go as fast because you just run into people if you got a big old board and hauling around. But with a nice clean side cut on it, that's kind of a standard. And my stance is the Northwest Kung Fu fighting stance, I believe it would be called. And I don't know. I kind of asked somebody from Bend the other day if they knew what that was, and they're like, no, I've never heard of it. But I thought it was a kind of a standard thing. But what I know it as is 0 on the back foot and 18 on the front foot. And I think it just came from back in the day. That was the only stance options you had. And so I have 0, just a good old, then 18 on the front, 22 inches wide. But maybe that changes a little bit. If I get a bigger board, I kind of make it fit. Or especially if I get a smaller board, I make it. But it probably doesn't go under 22, really. And then I got a little no back on the front. And I got the Solomon Shadow Fits that have kind of a soft heel cup and a really low profile heel cup. So there's less heel drag on those. And I'm addicted to those. And then on the back, I have the Quantum binding with a cranked forward lean. It's a carbon fiber high back. And cranked up. And I run my toe strap over the top. Is that a question that's going to come up?
Well, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And my daughter runs her toe strap over the top. And let's see. But I do ride a lot of different boards. And
what about boots?
Boots, I ride the Lo-Fi, but I think Solomon doesn't make that. I think it's going. I think I got a pair of Echo boots waiting for me at home.
Boa or lace on
I'm gonna
those?
start breaking in. Not boa. They have a boa. I think I know
You
the
like
boa.
laces though?
Yeah, because I break boas.
Oh, he's a boa breaker.
Yeah.
Bodie was telling us that those things don't break anymore.
Maybe I just haven't tried them since I broke them 12,
okay.
15 years ago.
True.
But it has a little boa that has an ankle strap type internal.
They pull your foot back. So that's what I like, the hybrid.
But for splitboarding, I like laces. And the braking thing, you don't want to break somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. And I do have 2 boots. I run like a Lo-Fi, really low profile boot. And then for splitboard for the resorts, and then for splitboarding, I have something. I think right now I have a wide boot. I think I have a 9.5, but it's wide. It's just kind of something that has a little more room that you can wear for a week straight and get your foot in on a cold morning. But all laces. Maybe there's a little boa for a little special heel internal thing. But yep, lower profile. I definitely compare the boots in the line to find the lowest kind of footprint.
All right, we're going to do some thank yous. What do you got?
All right, my first thank you is to you guys. Doing such a great job on the bomb hole, keeping me entertained while I'm riding my bike around Switzerland and doing the dishes. And it's a little derby related. We've been getting ready for the derby coming up here soon. The derby race, and we've been making trophies, and we added on a little derby glove. We got that hole down here. We got your logo. And I was hoping it gets put up there. So.
We'll put it on the set. Yeah. For the listeners, it's like a wooden, like routered looking glove. This thing's incredible. How would you describe this thing, Buds?
That is the new Derby logo. I'm taking it.
No, it's kind of the classic logo, and it's come and gone. But
I don't think it was there.
It's got a bomb hole logo.
I didn't win
on
a trophy, so I guess.
Yeah, the original Derby trophies were gloves.
It's the number 1.
Yep, and so the first place, second place, third place were there with the fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of come and gone, and this year we're bringing it back, the Derby gloves.
And this one is special with the bomb hole logo.
Just to let you guys know you're number 1.
Wow, thank you,
That's
Dirksen.
a perfect set piece.
We appreciate that. That'll look good on the set.
Yeah, thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you. Do you want to throw out any other thank yous before you wrap this thing up?
Yeah, for sure, I do. I'm very thankful for all my sponsors over the years. Making this, keeping this dream alive and making it work.
Anybody who cuts you a check for 20 years straight?
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Solomon, Patagonia, and Patagonia for being who they are and doing what they do and inspiring me to be a better person, better outdoor promoter. And Smith and Tactics, the shop in Bend, and they're doing a lot to help out with the Derby. It's a big load to carry when it happens in Bend, and it's nice having all the supportive sponsors. And look around and see who else.
Check his body for logos.
And thank you to my family, my mom and dad for Mike
Solomon?
and Patrice. And I already said Solomon, right?
I don't know. I'm just looking at your logos.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I said Smith and my Smith helmets, and all my sponsors for putting up with me. I'm definitely a vocal, opinionated, and I say what I want with the product. And thanks for reacting and listening, and all my sponsors in the past.
Crab grab.
Oh yeah, and crab grab too.
They already got an ad. We're sending an invoice over.
Yep, crab grab. I love my gloves, and I just love their style, and I love being like part of the teams that I'm on. Like being on the Solomon team. It's so nice, just knowing that I'm part of the greater world of snowboarding and part of the best riders in the world. It really motivates me, and so my family, my friends, Fabian and Alana, and Switzerland and America and Canada for letting me be born there, and Mount Bachelor for being an awesome, unique ski resort that supports snowboarding, a true snowboard mountain. And let me see.
Thank you to Canada for letting me be born
there.
there. That's my favorite one we've ever heard.
That was really, really good stuff.
I definitely forgot people. Thanks to everybody who helped me out along the way, and all the photographers, and Trevor Graves and Robbie Morrow and Todd Richards for setting me in the right direction right at the start. I don't think things would have been the same if I went and rode for a different company. I wouldn't have had the same knowledge that I came out of it with. And but all the sponsors that I ever rode for, the ones that I left ruthlessly to go have fun with other people, and they've all been so supportive and awesome. And thank you to Mother Nature for providing snow. And sorry for everybody or anybody I forgot to mention, but I definitely appreciate people daily and appreciate this position that I'm in to be 25 years later, sitting here at the bomb hole, having fun, talking to you guys. And and a little bit of relief that we're almost finished here. It's fun being a little stressed, but I was a little excited, stressed to come in here and talk. But it was very enjoyable. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for everything you've done to the community of snowboarding, for the community of snowboarding with the Derby, the style and progression and stewardship. You've pushed our sport in the right direction. Just thank you for being such a huge part of what makes snowboarding special. We really appreciate you, Josh. And lastly, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners, everybody that tunes in, everybody at the bomb hole that helps. I'm going to give a shout out to everybody on the team, because we got Buds, we got Julian who edits the podcast, we got Jules, we got Danny, we got Rigo. Who am I forgetting? Seth, we got Drake, we got the whole team that makes it work, and all of you guys that listen. Thank you guys so much.
I want to say thank you to Canada for letting me go on jib trips
Yeah,
there.
totally.
I've had some great jib trips there.
Love it. We appreciate you guys, all the Patreon members, and we will see you next week over and out from the bomb hole.